Hospital Porters Pride and Dignity, Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV and welcome to this, the 39th comments reply video. Oh, I think they're on a bit now, aren't they? Yeah. So yeah, I'm replying to the comments that's happened since the last video, and this is it's sooner than the last comments reply video. It was the 9th of February. It's now just the 2nd of March. It was less than a month, and it's a shorter month, of course, 28 days. The reason is there's been more videos, more comments, things like that, so I need to catch up, and maybe I should do them more often anyway. I was thinking about that. But anyway, if you're new to this channel, I'll explain. It's called a comment reply video because that's what it does. I reply to your comments in this video, all the ones that have been made since the last comments reply video. Several reasons that I do this. Firstly, I don't have time to reply by text. I'd just be sitting there typing the keyboard all day long. I get over 1,000 comments every month now, so it would take too long. At the same time, I do feel obliged to reply because you take the time to make the comments, and I get some of the comments replies. Some of the comments are detailed, they take a long time, people put a lot of thought into them. I owe you a response to that. The thing is now, a lot of you are going to say, you're going to look at this and you're going to say, blimey, that's a long video, Ben. I only want to reply to one comment. I'm not going to watch the entire video of 9 hours for one comment. Well, first of all, these comments reply videos are getting shorter, and the reason is because I'm doing them more often. But secondly, you don't have to watch the entire video, even if it's less than 9 hours these days. It's true, these comments reply videos do tend to be very long. Even now, this one will probably go on for multiple hours. But you see, what I'll do is every time I make a comment, the comment will include a timestamp. The timestamp will say when within the comments reply video upcoming to the nearest hour, I will be replying to the particular comment I'm referring to. So it could be first hour, second hour, third hour, etc. In this case, it's the first hour. So after an hour, I'll change it. I've got a timer here, so I'll change it, and so that the longest you're going to have to watch any video for is about an hour. Often I don't always get it bang on the nose. Sometimes it's a few minutes over or something like that because of miscalculations. But generally, it's about an hour. Another reason I do these comments reply videos is very simple. I enjoy doing them. I think they're good videos generally. They're high quality. A lot of you, the viewers, enjoy watching them. In fact, I know some of you, quite a lot of you actually, who watch them all the way through, regardless of whether you want a comment answered or not. So that's another reason I do them. So let's get on with it then, shall we? So we go back to the Mandela Effect film review. And proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal Angora Rabbit, who still, I think, wins the prize for the best username of anyone who comments on my videos, says on the Mandela Effect film review, the Mandela Effect is the ultimate expression of a true narcissist. It's not that you're wrong, it's just everyone else on the planet that's wrong. No, Rabbit, it's not. The thing about the Mandela Effect, if it was the case, I mean, there are these stubborn people who just are convinced they're right about everything, and they stick to them being right through thick or thin, regardless of whatever way you disprove them. They're just obstinate. They just say, I'm right, and I'm going to say I'm right, and I'm never ever going to pretend I'm never going to say anything about me not being right. My mum used to be like that, actually. That's true, those people exist, but the Mandela Effect's got nothing to do with that. The Mandela Effect's very different. The Mandela Effect is people having memories of certain things, such as the name of a book or the name of a TV series, which is different to what it actually is in history, as it's recorded, and indeed how some people remember it. You're not being a narcissist if you believe that. You're just saying that's odd, that's a bit weird, and it's not. Also, it's not the fact that you're the only one. You're not the only one. You see, you might misremember a particular program, TV show, or something like that differently, and people do that. Memory is imperfect. You have something called conflation, which is errors of memory. Try watching a film you haven't seen for 20 years. It'll be very different to how you remember it. But no, the reason is. The thing about the Mandela Effect is that you get millions and millions of people across the world conflating the same thing. Now that requires an explanation. It really, really does. Reply to comments 38. The Crafty Nihilist says, first comment, whoop whoop. You're getting a love art for that, Crafty. Yeah, that's right. That's my last comment reply video. This is number 39, as I said. And Charles Unleashed says, now you owe me a favour. Funnily, if you write it with the favour with the American spelling, and is Charles American? I don't know. And same video, the Death Beats says on replying to comments 38. Danger, danger, new comments video. Big up, Ben. Hope you're good, mate. I'm not bad, thanks, Death Beats. I'm alright. You're getting a love heart too. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed these. There's another one coming today, as you can see. Reply to comments 38. Charles Unleashed says, are people still really saying they don't want to watch a 4-hour video to see a comment? Oh, believe it or not, Charles, I get this criticism. I still get occasionally people will make this point, even though I explained very clearly at the start of the video exactly you don't have to watch the entire video if you don't want to, and I know lots of people who do want to. Fewer than I used to, I'm glad to say. Maybe people are getting the message now. Same video, Gary Robinson says, speaking of Nixon, Ben, there's a really nice mid-century style house here in my city in Mexico that Nixon and his wife stayed in when he came here to open the Amistad Dam at some point during his term. Alright, that's President Nixon, right. Oh, right. So that's the Amistad Dam, and President Nixon opened it at some point. Oh, he cut the ribbon and everything. Alright, sure, Gary, that's interesting. John Nolan said, did you know Nixon was a part-time gay man? Ooh. I didn't know about that, actually, about Richard M. Nixon. I don't know what he was. I know he got into trouble. He got kicked out. Some people say he was really good. Other people say he was a liar. I don't know. Same video, Charles Unleashed. Ben, you have a psychotic android upstairs. Liberace is playing I Feel Fantastic. Look it up. Is he? Oh, right. I don't listen to him that much. He's sort of background noise, really. Let's have a look. I Feel Fantastic. Bombastic. I Feel Fantastic song. Let's have a look. I Feel... what's this? Oh, is the oh, bloody ad. Sorry, just an ad coming up. Oh, I see. Is it the Android? Oh, right. Hang on. Here we go. Ooh. That is weird. Is that what he was playing? That's a bit weird seeing a robot sing like that. Ooh. I hope he's not one of them. Maybe he's like been stuck in the film The World's End. That's a good hospital portrait movie, by the way. Charles Unleashed says, I'll reply to comments 38. Douglas also claims to be the son of Adolf Hitler, so put a line through that one. Every time we clone Hitler, we make him without balls, so he can't breed. Oh, it doesn't stop him, though, does it, Charles? Oh, Charles says, yeah, we make the clones of Hitler. Yes. Douglas, which... Oh, so, God blimey, who was I talking about, Douglas? Douglas who? Douglas Adams? Somebody Douglas? Oh, blimey. I can't even remember what I was saying in that last video. Alright, well, you'll remind me, mate. Sorry, and I'll sort of get it, but I know, mate, you and your people, you clone them, don't you? Reply to comments 38. Crafty Nice. Ben, you're going to kill me. Paola Harris gave me her personal number and email when we were at the Awakening conference in 2018, as we spent a long time chatting and really bonded. This is Liz, not Mark. I've never contacted her and lost it. And Charles Unleashed says, and who do you think told her to do that? You owe me another favour. You're welcome. Oh, right. Oh, Paola, yeah. I think I had an argument with Paola Harris on Planet X Radio, but she didn't hold it against me. But you know, she was just... We were going on about... oh, I won't go into it now. It's... we're still on good terms. And we have now replied to comments 38. Ben W. Oh, I'm just a bit disturbing. I seem to really have a bit of a fetish for hot old ladies. I just don't know how that came about. Ben W says on the reply to comments 38, Blade Runner 2419 isn't a remake of Blade Runner. It follows the story on from the original story. It's worth a watch, visually stunning. Did you watch Annihilation? All right. I didn't know that, Ben W. If it's not a remake, then I'll watch it. It seems I watched The Thing, the new movie The Thing, because when someone told me it was actually I thought they bloody remade it, and they said no, it's a prequel. The moment they told me it was a prequel, I went and watched it, and I thought it was really good. It was as good as the original. It was really scary and horrible. It was really, really good. So yeah, if it's not a remake, I'll watch it. So yeah, okay. Did I watch Annihilation? Yes, I did. God, that was actually not bad. I mean, it could have been better. But on the plus side, it was really, really quite cool. I mean, it reminded me a little bit of Stalker, the Russian movie. Andrei Tarkovsky's Stalker, which is based on the Roadside Picnic book that I talked about in other videos. It reminded me a little bit of that. It was quite creepy, and it was ruined by political correctness, though. It was just so... I mean, I was just looking through it saying, is a white man going to appear at some point? And they didn't appear. It's just like it was so culturally Marxist in so many ways. It was... I mean, that really bugs me when that happens, and... It's a shame because it'll probably, now it's got woke, it'll probably go broke. It probably won't be as successful as it otherwise would have been, because it could have been great. I mean, if it didn't have that element to it, that would have been a bloody good movie. It really would. Reply to comments 38. Tessa1111 said they, quote unquote, did destroy the SETI dish, and Puerto Rico, no more wows from there. Sniffle. Oh. I don't know if it was deliberately destroyed. You see, there'd be no real reason for it because, well, there's plenty of other telescopes that can do the job now. I mean, why would they just? If you mean the Illuminati, I mean, why would they destroy it? Because well, it was used. I know it was used for SETI. Indeed, in the film Contact, you see it's a good film actually. Contact. It's a lot of the film. The first part of the film is set there when they pick up this. They're searching for radio transmissions from distant stars, and the character in the end, Dr. Arroway, she picks one up, but from a different telescope. I think the problem was it was just getting old-fashioned and things like that. Hugo Roon, hi Hugo. Hugo says, I do not find the music from upstairs annoying, more like nice background. It does not interfere with Ben's recording. If my neighbours could play the piano, it would be an improvement on their shouting. What? Oh dear Hugo, you're absolutely right. I would not want to... I don't think I'd want to live near people who are always arguing all the time, and luckily I don't have any neighbours like that. And I live in a block of flats, actually, where there's two people who live above me, and then there's another person who lives in that direction, and there's no one in that direction. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to have arguing people all the time. So yeah, I mean, it is a bit like maybe I should just see Alan as my free entertainer. Just say, well, Alan is just playing music to keep me entertained and keep you guys entertained when I'm recording. Sonara's Ashtray, hey Sonara, how are you doing? I agree, it's quite cosy. Yeah, I got used to it now. I've got used to it. You couldn't really hear it from the other side of the flat because basically my old room was on the other side of the building and you didn't really hear it. But now I'm right below the room where Alan plays his piano. So same video. Hugo Roon says, well, this is me for the night watching this. It'll be finished around 2 a.m. Quite normal bedtime for me. Thanks, Ben. I'm 40 minutes out in that now and looking forward to your replies to me later. Oh, you're welcome, Hugo. You're getting a love heart, you are, mate. I'll tell you. Yeah. Thanks very much. I hope you enjoy this new one that's coming about. Reply to comments 38. Gary Robinson. All right, he now repeats what he said about Blade Runner. It isn't a remake, it's a sequel, right? Hans Zimmer did the music for the new version, which features a lot of new musical themes, which complement Vangelis's original soundtrack very nicely. Gary, you convinced me, mate. I'm going to go and watch it. Okay, now I know it's not a remake. I'll watch it, just like with The Thing. The moment I knew The Thing wasn't a remake, I decided to watch it. The reason, interestingly, with The Thing, the 2011 Thing, the reason they chose the same title because they couldn't think of a better one. They were thinking of The Thing, The Beginning, or something like that. They couldn't think of a proper title for it, so they just used the same title. Ed Kaler says underneath, question mark, a sequel? Reply to comments 38. Woody Black. Hi Woody, how you doing? So you're not into the flat earth. What about Tartaria, mud floods, etc.? The kind of stuff Martin Liedtke and John Levy make videos about. I find all of that stuff really interesting. Oh, I think they were on... Were they on Joe Rogan's show? Oh, what is it? Let me just Google that. Tartaria. What's that? Tartaria, oh right, is a blanket term used in Western and for a part of Asia bounded by the Caspian Sea, the Ural Mountains, and the Pacific Ocean. That's basically Central Asia and Manchuria. And right, all right, it's not used much nowadays. It's an old-fashioned type of term. Okay. But the mud. What did you say? Mud floods, the kind of stuff Martin Liedtke and John Levy. I think they've been on Joe Rogan. Yeah, I recognise those names. But I'll look it up, Woody. I will. But no, I'm not into the flat Earth. I've explained why. I'm totally. I've discussed it. I'm willing to debate people. I've debated Mark Sargent. I debated David Weiss on the HPANWO radio. And listened to what they've had to say. I read Eric Dubé's book, his first book about the flat Earth, and it didn't convince me. The big Scottish midgie says on reply to comments 38. Why would the good guys give the plan, or even a distraction plan, to people such as Mr. Ward? He has only been active on the scene for a year and now has a huge following. Right, yeah, this is about Charlie Ward, yeah. Right. Yeah, this. Yeah, someone told me about it. I'll carry on. I'll carry on reading. Or Mr. Parks, that's Simon Parks, who many believe to be a dubious character and now focuses more on the US. His following has rocketed as well, and handy for his connecting consciousness business stroke cult, with his announcement of moving over to the pond to start up a healing centre. Both these people were nobodies on the grand scale of things. I'm beginning to think that Tavistock and their international partners have been working overtime pushing all this. This past year has been one of the craziest ever with this flu shit and lockdown, yet they are focused more on this narrative and not what's right in front of us today. The cabal are not idiots. Remember how long they have controlled humanity for, and are using others to distract our attention away from what's happening in front of our very eyes. Now it's a simple but effective program for them to use. Again, you see, I watched this video, was it Charlie Ward and Simon Parks Exposed or something like that, and you see, I did watch it and I listened to what was said there. But I mean, at the end of the day, see, there are numerous. If you want to look for videos saying so and so exposed or the truth about so and so, you know, it's everywhere. It's Darren Perks, it's Larry Warren, it's Jonathan Reed. It's, you know, the list goes on and on. In fact, you may well have watched my recent video, my reply to Caroline Stevens, where I go into this in more detail. But really, accusations of the type made against Mr. Ward and Mr. Parks are now two a penny. I mean, it's everywhere. So this is why I believe that the solution has to be some kind of due process. We need to bring in my idea of tribunals. We have to have a shill tribunal. Set them up now, so we can actually sort this out fairly. Because I mean, if you feel suspicious about someone, it's quite right to be wary of them. Maybe, you know, don't follow what they say. Don't do what they tell you to. Things like that. You don't have to do that. But at the same time, there needs to be some kind of evidence. I mean, I know some people, even there's a guy I know, actually, I quite like him, actually. Every time I go and see him, I mention a name and he goes, ooh, he's well dodgy. And it's like, his shill list is so long, it's like, you could unroll it, it would fall to the floor. The number of people who are not on his shill list in the truth community are like just a short list like that. It's when your shill list is longer than your non-shill list, you're in trouble. You're entering into shill culture. As I was saying, I don't know you, Charlie Ward. Yeah, he's quite new. I've never met him. I know people who've spoken to him. Lisa, my friend, did an interview with him. Oh, was it him? Can't remember. And he said some odd things like, someone sent me the inauguration video at 7 this morning, you know, and it's pre-recorded. And I said, well, did you show anyone? No, I didn't show anyone. Things like that. Simon Parkes, I know, actually. He's I like Simon. I think he's all right. I mean, I don't see what's suspicious about him as such. I mean, saying something you don't agree with is not suspicious. That's not suspicion. I mean, it is with some people. I know certain people. You say something they don't agree with, and oh, they're obviously working for MI5. But no, I don't really see what he's gaining out of this, because he was living a normal life. Actually, he was actually a politician, an elected councillor, and he was also a driving instructor. And suddenly, then he starts talking about his alien abduction experiences. The next thing, he's in the bloody newspapers, and people are taking a piss out of him. I mean, it takes a lot of guts to do what he did, actually. Then they made that awful documentary about him. If he'd kept his mouth shut about that, then he'd be a lot more successful materially, fitting in better, and he didn't. So, again, we need to subject this to a tribunal, I think. Reply to comments 38, John Nolan. Let's dance for COVID-19. All right, COVID. Now, COVID I found out because a lot of people write COVID instead of COVID. A corvid is a bird. It's a family of birds which include the crows. So that's ravens, rooks, jackdaws, etc., etc. They're all corvids. So COVID-19, yep, crows. I love crows. Reply to comments 38, Hugo Rune. From 2 hours 59 onwards, not exact. Lol, thanks, mate. Honestly, I did have snow that trapped me indoors. My driveway is an upward slope. Thanks for your sentiments. Yes, perhaps I could use your local parks, but I'm not there. I'm in here in a little village in Nottinghamshire. All right, yeah. Hugo Rune, who uses a wheelchair. We were talking about like snow and how he might have had a bit of trouble getting out, because obviously there's a problem with traction and things like that. The same reason cars often skid more, and you can't really ride a bike in snow. It's very tricky. But yeah, 3 hours onwards, Ben, I invite you to bring a camp bed and sleeping bag. Doss down in my living room. Sorry, 1-bedroom bungalow, me a cripple. Stay for a couple of days. Let's chat. Gravity doesn't exist. Oh, thanks, Hugo. I'll send you a love heart for that. Absolutely, I'd love to. Yeah. It'd be good to see you, actually. It'd be nice to meet. When we're allowed to travel again, it'd be great to come and see you. Yeah, thanks. We talk about gravity and all sorts of other things. Same video, Gary Robinson. Ben, mate, I was indeed making a joke about the snow thing. Oh, right, I see. You know what, Gary? Once again, I can't remember what we were talking about. Oh, dear. Show more replies. Here we go. This is a long. We got our first long thread now. Steve mumbling, he's deleting my posts. No, I'm not deleting. Oh, I'm not deleting your post. This is a reply to comments 38. Oh God, who's here? Charles Scott, Steve mumbling. This is going to be a long one. Strap yourself in. The problem is you don't take any rebuttal information on board. Yes, I do. I respond exactly to your points. I inspire you to keep repeating your science fiction rubbish. You seem absolutely determined not to learn the truth. You really should read and learn. That's what a researcher would do. You're a blinkered science fiction lover, not a researcher. Steve, that's rhetoric. There's no point there. There's no argument. You're not making any assertion, and you're not adding any evidence. I mean, I could say about anything. I could say that about anything. I could say anyone who thinks 2 + 2 = 4 is talking science fiction rubbish. They're determined not to learn the truth. You should read and learn that 2 + 2 = 5. That's what a researcher would do. You're a blinkered 2 + 2 = 4 lover, not a researcher. If you were to say that, Steve, would the universe automatically change so that 2 + 2 = 5? If not, then what you say here doesn't change, does it? Now, Charles Unleashed says, the thing with Mr. Scott is the usual straw man. Demanding someone prove it is not alien technology. It's like demanding proof that a unicorn isn't driving it. No, yeah, this is the burden of proof, Charles, you're talking about here. This is Charles Unleashed, not Charles Scott. I think it is actually not the case, because saying that something is not alien technology when it's showing signs of, firstly, if you define alien technology, how do you define alien technology? Firstly, is a suggestion: 1, something which is obviously artificial, not natural. 2, it is not made on Earth or made by human hands. Would that count? If that counts as a suitable definition, then saying something is not that is a positive assertion. When there's evidence, or someone presents evidence that it is. If I was to say this is man-made, and you say no, it's natural, that's a positive assertion. You see, it's not. This shows every sign of being man-made. It's artificial. It's made from purified metal, and it is shaped in a certain way, which indicates it's artificial. It's a tool. It's an eating utensil. Therefore, if you state that that's natural, it's a positive assertion. This is like the whole burden of proof thing that I talk about in my skeptic video. Charles Scott says underneath here, at Charles Unleashed, drivel, I have provided sufficient evidence regarding white world technology where it is 100% provable extraterrestrials are visiting Earth. You have actually, Charles. I mean, I'll break this to you now, guys, right? If you don't read UFO Truth magazine, please just read the current issue, the one that's just, I think it's coming out today actually, because there's a little article in there by me. It's called UFO Skeptics Get It Wrong Again, and Charles has provided a lot of the information. I actually cite Charles quite considerably in there. Charles Scott, that is. You should. By the way, I'll be covering this in more detail maybe in a future video. Maybe not right now. In maybe about a couple of months or a month or two, I'm going to be doing a big UFO thing because I'm going to review Avi Loeb's book as well. By the way, you should accept this fact, and I do not demand you prove it is not alien technology. You are saying Mick West is correct. Does not alter this fact. Furthermore, I am 100% confident you or anyone else will never ever find veritable proof to say all three George Adamski film footage, gimbal and FLIR are not extraterrestrial material. Failure for anyone to accept the fact extraterrestrials visiting Earth are not a skeptic but a clown, clueless, chump, thick idiot. You also don't understand mathematics despite your claims you do, or you don't understand my evidence. I wait. More merry-go-round drivel fiction narrative. Oh my! Luckily, these guys can give as good as they get, so I'm not going to pull Charles up on his rudeness there, because they can give it back to them as good as they ever can. But yeah, I mean, I don't know much about George Adamski. I know that Charles made an assertion. The gimbal and FLIR and the Tic Tac footage, the things to do with the Nimitz incident. There's many reasons not to believe Mick West's account. I mean, I'll go into more detail in another video, but Charles covers it quite well here. I've got my own reasons for disbelieving Mick West, which I will be covering in a future video. I don't want to say anything now, because I want you to go out and buy UFO Truth magazine, where there's an article in there all about that. But yeah, the attempts to actually debunk the Nimitz have not worked, I believe. Partly from what Charles himself has done a lot of work into this, but a lot of others have too. Charles Unleashed says to Charles Scott, why is extraterrestrial visitation a fact? Steve Mumbling says to Scott, so you keep saying. The problem here is you keep repeating the same rubbish over and over again because you're not smart enough to know it's rubbish. No one can look at a film and say with 100% certainty that they're looking at an alien spacecraft. It's ludicrous. A film isn't tangible evidence. And Steve Mumbling says to Charles Scott as well, can you post a link to your mathematical rebuttal of Mick West's mathematical analysis of the Go Fast UFO? As I haven't seen it, the mathematical rebuttal Ben is going to repeat is in UFO Truth PMSL magazine. Oh, Steve, you've already heard about that, haven't you? The news gets around quick. Yes, it's out today, I think, if you want to get it, either today or tomorrow. But to be honest, Steve, Charles has he has actually posted his mathematical formula several times on comment replies, both on my channel and on yours. So you've actually said it. This is where I got my source from. Steve Mumbling says to Charles Scott, is this the Adamski UFO footage you consider compelling evidence? To me it looks like a toy or fake suspended from a fishing line from trees, given a little shove to make it sway back and forth. Let's have a look. Yeah, I think this may be rare. Well, Steve, it could be that. it looks to me like it's not a very good quality film. Actually, it's not very well lit. The object is in shadow. I think it's some old 35mm film or something. There's no soundtrack, so I can't tell from that. I just can't tell from that particular video. Charles Scott says to Steve Mumbling, "Your opinion is worthless dross, as you are not a film expert who has analysed the original George Adamski film footage. The only valid analysis are film experts looking at the original 8mm film, and here's the evidence." Alright, there's a link here to a YouTube video, I think. Alright, UFO TV. Alright, this is our channel called Saint Olga 69. Alright, well that's 11 minutes 48 seconds. I don't have time to watch it, but Steve Mumbling of course can. "I strongly suspect you will never ever find several film experts who've seen the original film footage and says it's fake, because it never ever happened. That film expert said it was fake." And he also says here, "You have confirmed long before now you are not a skeptic but a clown. You clueless chump thick idiot, as you fail to acknowledge it's a fact regarding white world technology. Extraterrestrial visitation to Earth exists. If you understood the evidence I've presented in all my comments in..." there's these two videos. I think these are links to videos. I've seen these before. Yeah, these are my... these are the previous videos where he's discussed this with Steve. "You would accept the George Adamski film footage to be true and an unknown object defying gravity, that FLIR has no conventional propulsion and accelerates beyond any known technology, in Graves and Fravor stating gimbal is not how conventional aircraft work." Charles Scott says also, "I have already replied several times to this comment. This indicates to me you do not have a mental block accepting conspiracy theories, as you now deny fact. I have mathematically debunked Mick West's go fast mathematical analysis in my comments here," and this I think is one of my videos as well. Yes, it's the Year of the Century UFO Disclosure video. That's where I actually got a lot of my information from my article, citing Charles, of course. Charles then says to Steve underneath, and also addressing Charles Unleashed, "A terrestrial explanation, such as unknown or natural phenomena, is impossible because the George Adamski object has intelligent design, intelligent manoeuvres, and though difficult to see, the portholes are a giveaway. It isn't a natural phenomenon, not a conventional aircraft. The only option left is an extraterrestrial craft. I've carefully thought there is no sensible explanation other than an extraterrestrial material." Yeah, it is. I mean, again, given the example of the knife, if something... There is a hypothesis, quite a fashionable hypothesis, that UFOs are simply... They are artificial, but they are made by the hand of man, but they're not publicly available. So it's secret technology, black world technology, in other words. That actually does account for some UFO cases, but not for all of them by any means, because it's to do with behaviour first of all, and also antiquity. You could make, for example, you could say, well, they developed anti-gravity, for example, in World War II, and then they developed it through the 50s and 60s, and now the government has secret anti-gravity spacecraft. But then that would then beg the question, well, why are they flying them over cities? How come they date back to before World War II? Things like that. So its behaviour and antiquity means that, yes, extraterrestrial material is the only explanation for some of these cases. Charles Scott says to Steve Mumbling and Charles Unleashed, "Instead of spouting drivel and saying you can't be certain it is extraterrestrial material, perhaps you can give a sensible explanation of all three FLIR, gimbal and George Adamski film footage. I strongly suspect you can't, in which case accept the fact extraterrestrial visitation to Earth exists. Don't go there and say it's Santa and his sleigh like idiot David Smith, PMSL. If you say it could be terrestrial material such as unknown natural phenomena, you are a ludicrous idiot. As you've already proven you are an idiot, it wouldn't surprise me if you continue with your merry-go-round drivel fiction narrative." Charles Unleashed says, "It's illogical to believe that aliens would try to make contact via tobacco container. Alien planets have different atmospheres, so it would be impossible for them to light up their pipes on Earth because it wouldn't work. It's rather like a diver attempting to smoke a pipe with a dolphin. Being so infinitely advanced, aliens wouldn't waste their time because it would bring their civilization in disrepute. Completely logical. Well, yeah, that I think you can't argue with. Yes, but Charles is going to try. Drivel! Your comment is worthless dross. Furthermore, you're not a film expert. You have not used any equipment that is used by film experts to analyse film, and you are not analysing the original 8mm George Adamski film footage. Charles Scott says to Charles Unleashed. Regarding white world technology, extraterrestrial material is the only possible explanation. Failure to acknowledge this fact, and or saying it is terrestrial, means you are not a skeptic but a clown, clueless chump, the idiot. I wait more merry-go-round drivel fiction narrative. Charles Unleashed says to Charles Scott, calm yourself, man. This is behaviour unbecoming of an aspiring super soldier. It's very well known that alien tobacco isn't white. Such such outbursts from yourself are a damn disgrace. A disgrace, sir. TK says to Charles Scott, I think you need to put more effort in and use capitals a bit more. All right. I think this whole discussion is obviously getting a bit ironic, but that was an interesting thread. Let's carry on. Steve Mumbling says on reply to comments 38. I'm guessing my other comment hasn't been deleted. It's in your review folder. Yeah, right. The one with the 3 links to videos clearly showing there was no voter fraud, and showing those who claim voter fraud are being sued for billions of dollars. Are you going to deny you deleted it 3 times? Oh, for goodness sake, Steve, I swear I have not deleted any of your bloody comments. Why would I delete any of your comments? I'm well aware that Dominion VSC are suing Sidney Powell. I know that. I'm quite happy to discuss that. As far as from what I can find out so far, the lawsuit hasn't progressed beyond the initial paperwork. If it progresses further, we'll talk about it further. But Steve, I swear I've not deleted your videos. Why would I want to delete that? Why would I delete anything? Well, I've never deleted any videos from anyone, or no, I've never deleted any comments from anyone other than grounds of conduct. That's the only reason. That's why I got rid of Steve Palmer. Just because he was being abusive, not because of anything he said. I've not deleted any of your comments. Why would I? I mean, you provide some of my best material. You know, it's great debunking you. Okay. Oh, hang on. Here we go. There we go. Right, Steve Mumbling now has produced. Oh, right. It's now put a comment on reply to comments 38 with 2 links, 2 YouTube links in. So let's just see what they are. Let's have a look.
Donald totally loves praise.
What is it really like to work for Donald Trump? Op-ed. Right. Right, this is 4 minutes. I don't have time to read it now, but this is... Oh, I think these are the people slagging off. These are people on the staff who are slagging off Trumpy. Yeah. Okay. And there's another one here. Let's have a look at this.
Donald Trump is always saying that he's this incredible job creator and an...
Are Donald Trump's employees voting for him? Oh, right. Oh, these are not anti-Trump things. Okay. Now, that... and I actually reply in text. This video have 2 links. This video has 2 links, and it's public. I can't see the one with 3 links. And Steve Mumbling replies, this one, I posted it 3 times. Oh, right. Oh, here is a video with 3 links. Is this the one you were saying earlier on? The 3 videos you were accusing me of deleting? Well, I haven't deleted them. Why aren't I deleting them then? What's this? Okay.
$3 billion. Like, and they're not getting paid from...
Okay. This is a 8-minute video. Fox News hit with serious defamation lawsuit. Oh, this is from the Young Turks. Yeah, I've heard about this, Steve. Let's have like this. Let's have a look.
$1.3 billion.
Oh, right. Dominion VSC sues Rudy Giuliani for $1.3 billion over false election claims. Right. I've heard about this, Steve. Yeah, we've been talking about this, and I assume this is the one we do with Sidney Powell. Let's have a look. Yep, it is. This is. Oh, hang on. Ads. Dominion sues Sidney Powell for $1.3 billion as well.
$1.3 billion in damages, accusing Powell.
Okay, this is a short video, so only I can actually...
A voting machine company slapped former Trump campaign lawyer Sidney Powell on Friday with a $1 billion lawsuit. Dominion Voting Systems is seeking $1.3 billion in damages, accusing Powell of spreading false conspiracy theories about November's presidential election.
Conspiracy theories?
Powell falsely claimed at press conferences and media appearances that Dominion had rigged the election, that Dominion was created...
Oh, hang on a minute. This is interesting, Steve. This is interesting. This is from Reuters, which is a UK news agency. It's saying Sidney Powell falsely claimed... They state that as fact. They state it as fact. Well, hang on, this lawsuit hasn't gone to court yet. How do we know? She had a law. She was the one who actually initiated a lawsuit originally. She was actually the lawsuit was actually it was part of Giuliani's lawsuit against for the election. That's right. This sounds to me like a countersuit, but anyway, it's almost like standard procedure if someone sues you. I think it depends on the legal system in America that you launch a counter lawsuit. That's kind of like an automatic defense that in some situations you would do. If someone tries to drag you for a civil court, you try and drag them and hope they back down. The question is, though, it says here, it's distinctly...
election. Powell falsely claimed at press conferences and media appearances that Dominion had rigged the
Here we are.
election.
They falsely see. Reuters are stating it as a fact when it hasn't gone to court yet. This has never gone to court. So I don't know what they mean by that.
That Dominion was created in Venezuela to rig elections for that country's late president.
So Steve, you must realise that simply Dominion launching a lawsuit against Sidney Powell and Rudy Giuliani does not automatically prove that what they said was incorrect. That's not how the law works. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, we can comment more at the time. But you see, right now you've got to realise that you've now posted a comment. You posted a comment with the links in, with 3 links in, and it's here. I can see it. I've not tried to remove it. I've never tried to remove any of these videos that you've made, any of these links that you produce. So maybe you'll realise now that actually I'm not trying to censor you by deleting your posts and deleting your comments. I've just addressed the points you've made in them. So why would I delete your comments? That's the thing. Okay, so. Why would I do that? Why would I do that when I'm willing to address the points you make? Reply to comments 38. BZ Garson says, burden of proof 101 as an example. If you assert that those footprints were made by Bigfoot, I say, provide supporting evidence that proves beyond reasonable doubt that they were made by Bigfoot. Yeah, that sounds fair enough. Note, I'm not trying to counter your assertion with an alternative explanation. The onus is on you to provide supporting evidence which can be tested. The onus is not on me. Correct, Steve. Sorry, it's correct, BZ Garson. Correct. But if you say these footprints were not made by Bigfoot, these footprints were made by a clown who had a day off from the circus, who would just put on fake feet and just walked along here on the off chance you would turn up and find them. Right? If you do that, you have to provide supporting evidence beyond reasonable doubt that they were made by a clown with a day off from the circus. Okay, the onus then is on you to provide supporting evidence for that assertion. The onus is not on me to prove there was no clown. You see what I mean? Interestingly, Dave, this has come up several times in the last video. I remember. Oh, it's another long thread. It's another one. What's this? Same video. Steve mumbling says, Charles Scott, this is the Adamski UFO footage you consider compelling evidence. To me, it looks like alright. This is like a toy or fake suspended on a fishing line from trees, given a shove and made to sway back and forth. Right, that's the video we just saw earlier. Charles Scott says, your opinion is worthless, Ross, as you are not a film expert who has analysed the original George Adamski film footage. Well, that's true, Charles, but to be fair, Steve is actually providing a qualitative, subjective assessment of the footage you're referring to. He says, to me, it looks like a toy or fake suspended from a fishing line on trees and given a shove to make it sway back and forth. That's simply how it looks to him. Now, it could be that it's not that. Very often these things are counterintuitive. Very often real footage of various things are counterintuitive. But Steve is making kind of intuitive assessment of this. So you don't have to be a film expert to do that. Charles Scott says in reply to... Sorry, Steve Mumbling says in reply to Charles Scott, is this the Adamski footage you consider compelling evidence? And I think that's the same one. Yes, it is. Yes or no? If not, then please post a link to what you consider is Adamski's best evidence. A cheese and pickle sandwich can see that this video is fake. And there's another one here. Hang on. Well, like I said, it may not be. It may, because it looks a certain way does not mean it is a certain way.
Well, hello again.
Oh, right. Oh, it's a video by Steve. Right. It's a video by Steve. Right. Actually, just reminds me. I'm going to reopen last tab. I want to reopen that one about Sidney Powell because that's going to come up again, I think. Here we are. Yeah, George Adamski. Yeah, that's just a video that Steve's made, a 10-minute video. Charles Scott says to Steve Mumbling, your analysis is worthless dross as you're not a film expert and all your hyperlinks are not the original 8mm footage. Here is the evidence which I've presented several times to you already as you are an idiot. Let's have a look. Alright, and that's that thing by George Adamski. Okay, that's fair enough. But as I said, Charles, Steve Mumbling is really just, all he's doing is presenting... He's actually simply presenting his qualitative assessment of the whole thing, which... So it's kind of a moot point, really. I don't think Steve can't really say anything but that the film doesn't indicate very much, to be honest. Honestly, I'm not an expert on George Adamski here, but Steve is not really... You say his analysis is worthless dross. He's not really analysing anything. He's just saying, oh, a cheese and pickle sandwich could see that that's fake. Well, that's not really a... That's not an analysis. He's making a subjective assessment of the film, which he's entitled to do. It's not scientific, though. It's not a scientific analysis to make a subjective assessment of the film. I mean, if I could make a subjective assessment, and I did in 2001, September the 11th, 2001, I saw 2 buildings collapse after being hit by planes in New York City. Intuitively, that's what it looked like. Later on, when I started looking into the research done by people like David Ray Griffin and Dr. Judy Wood, I realised that's actually not what happened. My senses, in a sense, were deceiving me. It's looking at a film and thinking that looks like something. It neither supports nor debunks the idea that it's a footage of a real UFO. David Smith says, David Smith has got to actually make a reply video to, because he's made a video for me. I'll say more about that later. Says to Charles Scott, yes, the logical, quote-unquote, believe it until proven by experts to be untrue argument. It doesn't matter how many times you or Ben says it, not only do we not have to offer an alternative, we also do not have to be an expert. And you're both being dishonest when you bring this up, because apart from videos of UFOs, ghosts, etc. that you believe in, there isn't any other aspect of your life where you apply the same lack of critical thought. It's exactly why you will ask for more evidence before parting with your money from the scam. Do you have to prove everything is untrue via experts before it needs to be dismissed? If you're being honest, that leaves you dangerously open to being fooled by pretty much everything. The problem here, David Smith, the problem I think here is we're dealing with a rather short, not terribly good quality film here. It's shot an 8mm film. But of course, you don't have to. You can disbelieve it without it being proved by experts. You can disbelieve it without. You don't need experts to prove it's untrue. No, but at the same time, Steve made a positive assertion of what it was. He said it was well, he didn't make a positive assertion. He just actually stated what he thought it looked like. He said it looked like a model being suspended from a fishing line on a tree and then pushed to shove it backwards and forwards. Now, he just said that's what it looked like. He didn't say that's what it was. If he said that's what it was, then he's making a positive assertion of what was causing that image. In which case, he would have to, he would have to provide positive evidence to make that assertion. You see, and that's the point. And I haven't actually watched the link that I haven't watched this link from Steve that Steve talked about. Sorry, that Charles Scott was talking about, the one about Adamski, which is called It's from UFO TV, all right. George Adamski's UFO recordings approved by scientists. Right, okay. It's an 11-minute video, so perhaps you could watch that and see what you think. Because, of course, to say that's an alien spacecraft is also a positive assertion. Yes, you need to be able to prove that. Maybe someone has. I haven't watched that video yet, so I don't know. Charles Scott says in reply to David Smith, wrong. I have presented sufficient evidence that it is 100% probability regarding white world technology. Extraterrestrials are visiting Earth. Therefore, I do not require you to prove this is untrue. I'm also 100% confident that you can't prove it's untrue. If you ever tried to prove it's untrue, I await this more merry-go-round travel fiction narrative. Charles Unleashed said to Charles Scott, illogical. He sounds like Mr. Spock there. Illogical, Captain. In order to gain any useful information at all from motion picture or still photography, there needs to be at least 2 points of reference showing the exact same footage. You have but one frame of reference, therefore your conclusions are illogical. I've got to say, Charles, that's actually a good point. I mean, I'm not saying that video is a fake. You can't prove it's a fake. But it doesn't give enough information. I mean, I know there's more to the George Adamski scenario than just that one piece of film footage. I know that. And maybe that would count as other points of reference, or at least additional supporting evidence or information. I interviewed Gerard Arzer actually on HPANWO Radio once, and he's a supporter of Adamski. But yeah, if there was, you see, well, in this day and age, it's virtually impossible to prove any piece of film footage is real because of Photoshop. If you're talking about older pieces of footage, then it becomes a little bit easier if they're like long and they have different points of reference, rather like the Oliver's Castle crop circle footage, which is, firstly, it's old enough for you to say it's not Photoshop, and secondly, there's other supporting pieces of evidence as well. It's very, very tricky. Analysing photography has always been a tricky thing, and it's still tricky. In fact, it's 10 times worse nowadays. Honestly, there's this amazing piece of footage. It's filmed at an airport, and it actually shows Star Wars hardware everywhere, and it looks so real. It's incredible. You see like deaths. You see like Millennium Falcons and X-wing fighters taking off and landing at the runways. It's incredible. Charles. All right. Charles Scott says to Charles Unleashed, your comment is worthless dross. Furthermore, you're not a film expert. You have not used any equipment that is used by film experts to analyse film, and you're not analysing the original 8mm George Adamski film footage. All right, Charles, well, I think the solution, perhaps for all people on this thread, is to watch that particular link, that 11-minute video you posted about the scientists proving it's true. Charles Unleashed says to Charles Scott, I'm an expert at everything. The whole galaxy knows that. You name it, I've done it. Yes. Don't disagree with Charles. David Smith says to Charles Scott, I can't wait to see your evidence published, Charles. I very much look forward to reading it in detail. And if you've paid any attention to what I've said, you'd understand that I don't need to prove it's untrue. I dismiss it as bad evidence in the same way I dismiss pictures of scammers' boxes of gold waiting to be sent to me. Yeah, that's true, David. That's actually true. I mean, I don't think Charles. I mean, obviously, I won't know until I've watched this 11-minute video that he's posted here. But if that video contains positive information that the 8mm film is real, then it's a different matter. But so far, I've not seen that either. I don't need experts to tell me it's untrue because I can look at it and see how flimsy it is. I can ask questions about angles, proximity to the camera, other objects, lighting, etc. to ascertain that validity of the imagery. Am I an expert? No. Have I studied up on video and picture images via my decades of interest in ufology and video image editing? Yes. But I like to keep telling you, I don't have to prove it's fake just because an expert said it doesn't make it true. That's the argument from authority fallacy. For you to be saying it's demonstrating aliens visiting the Earth, it would require far greater evidence. Yeah, the argument from authority fallacy is fair enough. Like I said, if in that 11-minute video they actually provide that evidence, then it's a different matter. But so far they haven't. Now, Steve Mumbling says, Steve Mumbling has a 10-minute video here. Some of the tinfoil hat brigade have been saying stuff like this. Oh, hang on. Oh, maybe I'll watch that later. But, you know, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go and watch an 11-minute video now, the one that Charles sent from about Adamski. But, yeah, if that is all you have, then yes, that's not evidence. However, if those scientists provide positive evidence, those experts, that the video's footage is correct, or that the 8mm film is correct, then yes, that does make it true. And also, if there's additional, you know, evidence of other kinds, documentary, eyewitness, physical, etc., etc., supporting the presence of an extraterrestrial craft in that area, then that also makes the film more likely to be true. You see what I mean? This is what I said about the Oliver's Castle footage. It's because there's additional types of evidence available. It's like the Phoenix lights. Anyone could, even in '97, people could mock up the ridiculous lights, the ridiculous footage that was shown on the news, which is not the best footage available at the time. Anyone could do that, but the fact is that it flew over a city of 1 million people, and there were vast numbers of people on the ground saw it. That's what makes the Phoenix lights footage more interesting. So there you are. That's it. If that you say it would require far greater evidence, fair enough, but maybe it does. Charles Scott says to David Smith, insane drivel. The evidence is already presented in my comments here. Copies of the original film can be tampered with and less clear. Your comment is worthless to us because you're not a film expert using all the equipment to analyse the original film footage of over 50 years of film experts analysis. The conclusion is it is a real object defying gravity, not connected to string or thrown up in the air. I await more insane drivel fiction narrative. Okay, well, in that case, Charles, I'd say that, you know, Charles Unleashed, David Smith, Steve Mumbling, maybe if they can address the points made by those scientists, that sounds fair enough to me. Charles Scott said to Dave Smith, since YouTube is blocking my longer comments, I'll be posting them elsewhere and the screenshots of the comments thread, and I'll prove you are a deluded idiot, lol. Yeah, Charles, I don't know why that's happening, by the way. I don't know why, because you used to post these very long comments and YouTube is stopping you. I promise you it's got nothing to do with my settings. I've checked the spam folder, I can't find them. I don't know what's going on. So I don't know how to solve that problem. David Smith says to Charles Scott, sorry Charles, simply denying what I've said and repeating points I've already refuted isn't a response to my points. It's clear you don't have the ability to think critically and apply the same thought process you use for this belief to others you hold. I find you to be dishonest, as each time I make these points you simply revert back in a circle due to them being difficult questions that expose your fallacious thinking. Well, you know, David Smith, this problem could be solved. Have you watched the link that Charles Scott provided? The compelling George Adamski film. No, not the bloody Steve Mumbling one. The other one, the one from UFO TV. Have you watched that? You may find an answer in that. At least you'll find more to talk about with Charles. Charles Scott says to David Smith, insane drivel. I await more insane drivel fiction narrative. Charles Scott then says, also to David Smith, you say I didn't pay attention to what you're saying. Is this your idiotic comment on Steve Mumbling's channel that YouTube are blocking me replying? Alright, so Steve Mumbling is doing the same. Well, see, it may not be something that Steve Mumbling is doing, Charles. Charles Scott. Oh, there's 1 hour gone. Okay, I'm just going to carry on, actually. I'm going to... the reason I'm going to carry on is because I found that... I'm just going to carry on, do another hour now, because I found that... just go second hour. In the second, because if I have longer segments, the film actually processes faster in my VideoPad editing software, so otherwise it takes ages to bloody process otherwise. But if I do like a 2 hour segment and it's not cut up into 1 hour segments, it processes quicker. So there we go. So Steve Mumbling may not actually be censoring your comments, Charles Scott. It may be that Steve Mumbling has the same problem that I do, and it's because of YouTube. It's got nothing to do with our policy on our channels. You will get a reply to show you're an idiot. If it's the above comment, you certainly haven't made it clear. In which case you were saying you don't have to prove you are correct. You're saying the film is fake. If so, you're an insane moron. Your amateurish analysis over 50 years of film experts analysis. Anyone is an idiot to think you are correct in saying the film is fake. Well, I don't. Did David Smith? David Smith thinks the film is fake. Steve Mumbling thinks the film is fake, but it's actually. It sounds to me rather like a subjective. Like I say, it's subjective analysis on their point. It's intuitive. Like I said, it's an intuitive thing. And it's, as I said, your intuition can deceive you. If you are, I often find when I'm walking outside and there's a clear sky, there's no landmarks, there's no clouds for judging distance. I look up, I see a big aircraft flying over. It looks very close. I feel I can almost reach out and grab it. It looks that close. Of course, it's not. It's hundreds of feet up in the sky, but it looks close. Again, it's where intuition. It's a counterintuitive view of reality. David Smith says to Charles Scott, try copying them over here in a day or two. Maybe you'll have better luck. Charles Scott says to David Smith, are you saying you don't have to prove you're correct in saying the film is fake? If this is what you're saying in your above comment, I personally do not interpret your comment this way. You certainly need to make yourself more clear. David Smith said to Charles Scott, you're too stupid or playing dumb. I'm saying the object in the film hasn't been proven to be alien. I'm not aware of any experts in alien technology that can substantiate such a claim. Well, David, I mean, you don't need necessarily experts in alien technology. You just... It's quite possible that certain people have looked at that particular film footage and they haven't detected any signs of tampering. This is the case with Oliver's Castle. They couldn't detect... The assertion was that it was simply a fake video of a crop circle and some aliens... some like luminous UFOs that they've been added by some kind of editing software which didn't exist in those days, but no sign of that has actually been detected. If you can prove, you see, David Smith, I think what you'd like to is for someone to analyse that film footage and see distinct evidence of tampering. For example, double exposure, things, something like that, or maybe a tiny trace of some supporting wire. David Smith says, you're lying now in your comments saying I'm not paying attention. The entire section, because I said... Have I started? I've just checked I've started the clock. Yes, I have. Good. Yes, second hour. Because I can look at it, an ending just because an expert said so doesn't make it true. Indicates you're saying the film is fake and don't need an expert to say the film is fake. As you already know, film experts never say it's alien spacecraft. Your quote, just because an expert said it doesn't make it true, unquote, indicates you're saying a film expert could be wrong to say the film is authentic or true. The other reason for lying is your obvious diversion answer, quote, try copying them over here in a day or two, maybe you'll have better luck, unquote. That's avoiding answering my question. I don't think that's aversion. I think, Charles, I think that David's trying to help you here. He really is. It may work next time. You never know. Thus avoiding answering my question. Are you saying you don't have to prove you're correct in saying the film is fake? All right. Then Charles repeats a comment he posted earlier regarding white world technology, Adamski, 100% extraterrestrial, that kind of thing. Now, okay, the problem, I think you guys on this thread are talking in cross purposes here. Steve Mumbling, Charles Unleashed, and David Smith are stating that they are not convinced that this is on its own evidence of alien visitation. Charles Scott is saying, yes, it is, because the photo experts prove it. Well, I haven't seen this video, but I mean, I suggest everyone go and watch this 11-minute video that Charles Scott posted of the scientists talking about the Adamski film. Obviously, if they find signs of tampering, then you have a positive assertion that the film was faked. As I said, double exposures, signs of supporting wires, things like that. That's an assertion you can then say, you can prove that that's not a real image. On the other hand, if it is a real image, again, it doesn't prove that it's alien, but it proves that there was no tampering on the film. But you see, Charles Scott, I think, is trying to argue with the intuitive assessments. Oh, God, more replies. What? Bloody hell. Oh, God, it goes on. Sorry, it goes on. Jesus. How long is this thread? Hang on. I think what this is my assessment so far is that I think that Charles Scott is trying to argue with the intuitive, subjective assessments of David Smith and the others. It goes. Sorry, this thread actually goes on. Oh, blimey. Here we go. Charles Scott says, David Smith, I know you're lying, but let's assume you're telling the truth. You're too stupid or playing dumb. Quote. That's a quote. Saying the object in the film hasn't been proven to be alien. I'm not aware of experts in alien technology that can substantiate such a claim, unquote. Well, you've got to prove the film is fake first before you can say the film hasn't been proven to be an alien, you idiot. Well, yeah, if you prove the film is fake, yes, you can prove... Yeah, I suppose that's fair enough. I wouldn't... Obviously, Dave, the other guys can give as good as they get when it comes to you calling them names. I don't mind. But... got to prove the film's fake first before you... Yes, that's true. If you prove that the film has been tampered with, physically tampered with, then you prove essentially that it's been concocted. It's not a real image. So that's true. Charles goes on though. If you think you can say it isn't an alien without proof, then your opinion is worthless dross. You're a thick, insane idiot. David Smith says. Charles Scott. Instead of trying to twist what I'm saying, just try replying to it. To make it clear, the film exists. There's an object in the film. That object has not been proven to be an alien. That is a fact, Charles. Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. If it isn't a fact, then why can't you show it to the plethora of experts and get the same response? If it's genuine, why couldn't they land and have someone stand next to them to show its size? Why wasn't it captured flying behind anything? Now, these questions can't conclude that it's fake, but they certainly put the brakes on concluding that it's real. Yeah, David, that's fair enough. I mean, as for why they wouldn't land, maybe they don't want to. I mean, they're quite elusive, aren't they? What you're doing, Charles, whether you admit it or not, is you using an argument from authority fallacy to say it's real. That depends, David, on the information in the 11-minute video that Charles Scott posted. It depends on that. I haven't watched it yet. If you haven't, please do watch it. Maybe we can all watch it and get back together and talk about it on the next comments reply video. But your authorities can only say the film shows an object and the film hasn't been tampered with. Correct. Well, I don't know, hang on. They can't say what the object is or how it was made, let alone one of them claiming some kind of energy field. Well, that depends, I think, on the content of the 11-minute video, as I said. But it's true, they can't... That film alone can't necessarily tell it's an alien, that's correct. But again, that doesn't mean that George Adamski was lying and it's all made up. To demonstrate your delusion, please tell me if you accept this overwhelming opinion, so the overwhelming opinion of experts with regards to COVID-19, or COVID responding to COVID 9/11. Is COVID 9/11 not having anything to do with explosives or energy weapons, climate change, chemtrails, etc.? Are we to assume you take the side of the experts in those cases as well, or are you cherry picking when and where your experts who can somehow detect energy fields via old video footage, lol, are going to be important? Give me a straight answer to that, please, Charles. Well, yeah, I mean, this is the argument from authorities more often used by the skeptics than non-skeptics, because they'll say, well, Richard Gage may say that 9/11 was an inside job. I can show you 500 architects and engineers who say it wasn't. Things like that. So the skeptics often use the appeal to authority. So yeah, I mean, but the question is, I'm not convinced actually that Charles Scott is using the appeal to authority fallacy here, because it could be that the people in that little 11-minute video will present positive evidence, which anyone could put out, whether they're experts or not in photography, that indicates that that's a real serious piece of footage there. And explain to me how you can be sure that the Nigerian gold box scam is fake. I'm pretty sure they could provide you with just as many photographic experts who claim that picture does show a gold in the box. But even if they don't, how could you possibly be sure it wasn't real? Give me another straight answer to that, please, Charles, because both points expose your failure in logic and critical thought. No matter how many times you make the claim, it doesn't make it true. Shouting about experts said isn't evidence, it's opinions, and we don't need to prove something fake for it to be so. That's arse backwards. We withhold belief until proven likely true, otherwise we end up having to believe everything that we can't prove is untrue, which leads to contradictions. That's why your gibberish comments about having to prove something fake is lunacy, and that's why you won't go anywhere apart from the comment section to spread your BS. Yeah, again, David, I think you are making some good points here, I must admit. I think Charles... What I would suggest to Charles Scott to do is to maybe discuss the specific points made in that 11-minute video, and maybe bring in other elements of the Adamski case, like Karat Arza does. Because that then would give David Young, Charles Scott, Charles Unleashed, and Steve Mumbling something more to reply to than just saying, well, these are my subjective views on this video, it looks like a toy or fake, or like a model. And then Charles Scott saying, you don't know, that's not true because the photo experts say this. Because that's kind of where this conversation is going. It's kind of rotating around this gravitational node of this conundrum, which means you're essentially talking on cross purposes here. Charles Scott says to David Smith, YouTube are blocking me again. You are twisting what I say, you liar. I will post a link so you and everyone else can see a longer reply, along with screenshots and replies to Mumbling's and Adamski's comments threads on if YouTube won't allow me to post it here. Basically, your comment is dross merry-go-round drivel fiction narrative. Also, if you're saying it can't be proven extraterrestrial despite the fact it can't possibly be terrestrial, then you are insane, ludicrous idiot PMSL. Charles Scott says, alright, this is... Charles Scott actually emailed this to me. He's actually put all his stuff onto a Facebook page. And you can get it here. You can get it, it's actually here. I've actually already looked at this, where Charles has posted all his stuff here. Oh right, you have to log into Facebook first, but it should tell you everything about it. And he says several of my comments in the Steve Mumbling screenshots 1 to 6 have been deleted after a few days. I wonder if Steve Mumbling knows who deleted them on his George Adamski video, PMSL. Well, the thing is, Charles Scott, it's possible that Steve Mumbling is not deleting your comments either. He any more than I'm deleting his. It could be that he's not deleting yours. It could be, again, a problem with YouTube. I mean, YouTube shadow ban people and do ridiculous things like that. So, to me, it wouldn't surprise me if they do little nasty things like get rid of comments every now and again as well. I find, for example, I have subscribers removed. Firstly, I'm sometimes subscribed to people and suddenly I'm quietly, behind the scenes, unsubbed from them. First thing I know is when I think, oh, I haven't seen them for a while, what are they doing? I check their bloody channel, they've been uploading like crazies in the normal rate. I've been unsubbed from them. You see what I mean? So maybe Steve Mumbling is just afflicted by that as well. Charles Scott says as well here, there's a Facebook link in the comments section. I've had serious trouble getting it posted. All right. You have now, Charles. Luckily, it has appeared now. I've signed out and the link is still visible. It is a reply to your comment. Great. It's working now, Charles. But you do have to log into Facebook to see it. That's the end of that thread. That was quite a marathon of a thread, that was. Reply to comments 38. Charles Scott says, to Steve Mumbling and Charles Unleashed, that YouTube is blocking my longer comments. I've emailed Ben with my replies to you. One reply to Steve Mumbling is incomplete, as YouTube won't allow me to extend the comment. Yeah, feel free to post your Facebook link, mate. That's the best thing to do. And Charles Unleashed said, no, Mr. Scott, that's me. You know too much and I've had to deal with you. Yeah. Reply to comments 38. Flappy Hands said, a million stars. Oh yeah, that's my Brian Cox. That was in my last Steve Mumbling video. Brian Cox. Oh, we got another thread here. Charles Scott says, The evidence I've presented in my comments, that's in my own videos, indicates the George Adamski film footage to be true and unknown object defying gravity, not connected to string and thrown up in the hangar. He's posted this comment before about George Adamski and the FLIR footage being ET. So it's just a repeat of a comment he said earlier. Charles Unleashed says, "You've got no evidence though. Hearsay isn't evidence." Unless it's me saying it, of course. Charles Scott says, "Drivel" to Charles Unleashed. "I wait more merry-go-round drivel fiction narrative." And then I had a text conversation with Charles Scott because about his disappearing comments. I managed to get his emails. His emails got through to me. But yeah, I said, "I've got your emails." For some reason, when I went to answer your comments on the subject, they vanished. Yes. And I just carry on. I'd have a little text comment just on this technical matter with Charles Scott here. Evans Land audiobook, part 1 of 5. Excuse me. Now, this was one that this was a bit of a surprise for many people. And in DC Evans Land, people said, "What's this doing? What's this audiobook suddenly appearing?" And the Evans Land audiobook, I actually wrote an article on Ben's bookcase. Just giving you a bit of background here. But if you may remember, I did actually put on a much lower quality audiobook of Evans Land years ago. It was all in 10-minute segments. There's about 200 of them. It was ridiculous. But Evans Land, of course, was my debut novel. It actually was published as a book in 2002. We're almost at the 20th anniversary, actually. In January next year, it'll be the 20th anniversary of its publication. But really, it's sold all right. I mean, it's sold quite well. It wasn't a problem. You can still even pick up a couple of copies at exorbitant prices on the remainder circuit. But I wonder what to do with it, you see, because it's very long. It's an absolute epic, 370,000 words. It took me about 3 years to write it. I was very proud of it at the time, but I look back at it with decades of hindsight, and I suddenly realised, well, it's not that good. It's got many flaws in it. I mean, it was a long time ago. I mean, I become a better writer with time. It's like if you're an athlete and you can run a mile in 4 minutes, you may look back at when you were at high school and it took you 5 minutes 50. That wasn't very good. That wasn't a very good time. Even though you may have beaten everyone else at your school, it wasn't a very good time by your current standard after years of additional training. So when I actually brought out the Roswell trilogy, I looked at Evans Land and I thought, well, it's best just to let it die. It's had a good run. It's not. So I sort of disowned Evans Land, but then I began thinking about it and I thought, no. Warts and all, it's still my first novel. It's still a part of my history as an author. So it really should be preserved. And by that time, I deleted my original audiobook and I couldn't find it. Basically, it was gone. I didn't have a backup copy, so I decided I'd preserve it. Now, my second novel, Rockall, is not only preserved on Ben's bookcase. That's HPANWO-BB.blogspot.com. It's not only preserved, it's actually a superior second edition. So I thought, well, I'll do the same with Evans. But the thing about Evans is I don't have a text copy. I'm producing a text copy, actually, used with a scanner. It's going to take a long time. But I thought, well, maybe at the same time, I was flogging off the old copies on my stalls, and I was receiving letters from people who say they really enjoyed it. I even had one guy saying it was the best book he'd ever written. I thought, ever read. He said it's the best, not only the best book I'd ever written, it's the best book he'd ever read. So I thought, okay, I'll archive Evans Land as a free audio book. I'm also, like I said, there'll be a text version coming at some point. So I thought I'll do this novel now, and so that's what I've done. That's where it comes from. So that's the result. These 5 long videos here. So Evans Land audiobook part 1 of 5. Ravenhill, the Serpent Sword Merchant, 1968 says, "Marvellous, I love listening to audiobooks. It's at night. It's 10 p.m. here now, Ben. Oh, right. Where are you, Ravenhill? And I just said, thanks, enjoy, mate. And Charles Scott says underneath, Ben, did you get any of the emails? Oh, right, yeah. I was just asking about that. Evansland 1 to 5. Bumbelina says, hey, brilliant. Hey, Ben, brilliant. Completely made up with this. Bravo to you. Cheers from Bumbelina. Thanks, Bumbelina. You're very welcome. I hope you enjoy Evansland. Here we go. All right, where are we now? Oh, Evansland 1 to 5. Charles Unleashed says, oh dear, Ben, that cover just won't do. This is my land. Always has been, always will be. Change it. Crafty Nihilist says underneath, the dragon's okay though, right, Charles? And Charles replies, I insist on it. And I said, is Evan... I reply in text, it's all right, Charles. Evan is one of your agents. And Charles Unleashed says, is he indeed? An agent so secret I didn't even know he was mine. And Crafty Nihilist laughs. Oh yeah, it's and right, Evansland audiobook part 1 of 5. Crafty Nihilist says prophecy. All right, yeah, I've already looked this up. This is the this is a scene where Evan gets arrested by the Zone in the first part of the book, and he's basically, it's the usual thing, you know, taken off to police headquarters, beaten, locked in a dark cell, things like that. And Crafty Nihilist says prophecy. Yeah, it's very odd actually, because I wasn't a truther in those days. I was not into. Well, I must have been, because I was reading David Icke. I actually started reading David Icke in 2000. I started getting into conspiracies and things in the late 90s. I started reading David Icke in 2000, but it can't have been as big a part of my life as it is now, because it's just that the book is really, it's very strange. The book is very, very it's just not conspiratorial. I mean, it's really weird, because there's one scene where the two characters, Warren and Evan, are discussing about fake bomb attacks, because that Roland Cooper is actually bombing Free Wales, and there's some videos been produced showing the damage, and Warren tells Evan, no, that's fake. It's not real bomb damage. Those are just actors. They're wearing bandages with fake blood on them and things like that. But it's really weird that weird thing is, I don't remember what was going through my head when I wrote that book. Like, it was more than 20 years ago I started writing it. And I don't remember the thought processes that involved then. I really don't. So I don't know why I put that into my book, and the other scene I've just described, and the prophecy scene that Crafty Nihilist mentions. Why didn't I put more conspiratorial stuff in? Why didn't I? See, you look at Rockall. Rockall is very conspiratorial. It's as conspiratorial as the Roswell trilogy, and the Illuminati and the Obscurati Chronicles, which I'm writing at the moment. And Charles Unleashed says underneath, no, Crafty, witchcraft, I tells you. Crafty laughs again. Reply to comments 38. Steve Mumbling says, why did you think Simon Parkes can show photographs of his terrestrial family, yet only crayon drawings of his extraterrestrial family? Personally, I think he's a con man. Maybe he was just a very lonely, unloved child who fell into a world of fantasy. Later in life he realised there were so many gullible half-wits out there in the internet land. He could grift off living off his childhood fantasies. It's all absolute rubbish. Well, the thing is, Steve, maybe he can show photographs of his terrestrial family, but only crayon drawings of his extraterrestrial family, because his extraterrestrial family are not all that keen to pose in front of a camera. Have you considered that? What you say about Simon Parkes being a con man, 100 people have said that about him, and the stuff about him being an unloved child, world of fantasy, that actually comes up in that awful documentary from Plum Pictures, which I was actually asked to be in that program myself, and I said no, thank you, and I was very glad when I saw it. I was very, very glad. Again, it's supposition on your part, and you're being disingenuous to him because of your own bias, because your beliefs. You have a bias. We all do, actually. All of us are biased in one way or another. That's not a secret, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. That's just human nature. But again, it doesn't quite fit with his career. The fact that he was quite a successful man as a politician. He was doing quite well as a politician. He was elected to office in Whitby, North Yorkshire. He was working as a driving instructor, and maybe he still does. I don't know. He had his family as well with him and things like that. I mean, why would he put himself up as a national laughingstock? Why would he make up some kind of story to present himself as a national laughingstock, Steve? If people say this about David Icke. He made it up. He made it up to make money and things like that. That's just a guess about what you would say. Well, he was a TV presenter, Steve. Do you know how much TV presenters earn? You see, if you think Simon Parkes is a con man, you need to provide evidence that he's a con man. Why don't you call the police? If you're that bothered, call the police. But all this stuff about gullible half-wits in internet land, that's all usual rhetoric. It's charged language to present an emotional drive. There's no evidence in that at all. And Charles Unleashed says underneath, "Oh, I don't know. It's not so bad if he keeps all those Steveisms keeping coming." I know. I'm thinking of having a T-shirt done with Steve mumbling on there saying "absolute rubbish" or "steaming pile." I reply to comments 38. And Steve mumbling says, "I think Biden and co put their unmarked troops, plus their unmarked troops, if they exist, in fact are not just more conspiracy rubbish. Also, they're not. If they exist in fact and are not, if they exist in fact and are not more conspiracy rubbish, are probably thinking unmarked troops. Oh, that's the ones at the Capitol. Yeah, they could be attacked at any time by some Trump-supporting loony with a machine gun. That's why they look a little subdued. Oh, I see. Sorry, I think you mean. Oh, you're referring to the honor guard at the inauguration. Yes, these soldiers who were dressed in uniforms without any insignia. Sterile uniforms, yeah. So they're thinking they could be attacked at any time by some Trump-supporting loony with a machine gun. Yeah, that's what they were asserting, Steve. That's not you don't have to suppose that. That's the reason they said they wanted this ring of steel around the Capitol. That's why they look a little bit subdued. Biden and co won fair and square. They are the legitimate government. Now, well, you see, you've got to ask yourself the question, Steve. They look a little subdued because of some Trump-supporting loony with a machine gun. I don't know. See, Trump has more people have made threats against the life of President Trump than they have against the life of Joe Biden, the fake president. Trump doesn't look like that. There's many other world leaders who are much less popular, apparently, than Joe Biden, who don't look subdued like that. As I said, this does not. It really does not fit the situation. The situation is we have the most popular leader the US has ever seen. We're looking at a guy who is loved so much that more people voted for him than any president in history. Though interestingly, very few of them actually tune in to watch his speeches. Many more people tuned in to watch Trump at CPAC than actually went to ever watched any of Joe Biden's speeches, which is interesting. Candace Owens put up the viewing figures. It was quite amazing. So you'd think though he'd be a little bit more confident than that. Trump tried to steal the election. No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He tried to expose the fact that it was going to be stolen. Fortunately, he failed. Well, unfortunately, firstly, he hasn't failed yet. I think it's unfortunate that nothing was done at the time. People, I get some of the Q posters are saying, no, don't worry, it's all part of the plan for Joe Biden to get inaugurated. Q has decided that's what has to be done. I thought, no, come on, guys. The plan failed. This doesn't mean that it's all over yet. It doesn't mean that Q is dead or in jail, as some people are saying. If Q were dead or in jail, I think the Bidens and Harrises of this world would look a little bit more happy about it. The Republicans weren't very smart by not finding him guilty. Well, no, actually not. Well, you know what I think about that, Steve. You know what my opinion is on the old. I think you can guess what you know already. What my opinion is on the stupid impeachment. I think you may have seen the live stream I did. Now they're married to him. I think Melania would have something to say about that. If they found him guilty, he would never have been allowed to run for president again. Now he could run as an independent and split the vote between the Republicans and himself. If they piss him off, huge mistake. Well, funnily enough, though, I mean, there's actually a video by Styx Hexenhammer, which says it's called for the first time in my life, the Republicans have done something good. Watch it; you'll find it interesting. Now, as for being allowed to run for president again, running as an independent, you see, the thing is, Steve, I think that's a bit of a moot point now. It's kind of a tad more urgent than that. I think Trump is well aware that that's actually not his strategy. You see, the thing about the running again, I've seen it everywhere. Trump 2024. After CPAC, they were saying Trump 2024, things like that. Don't you realise that if this issue of what happened in November is not addressed, in other words, if the truth about that election, that fraudulent election, doesn't come out, Trump cannot run in 2024. Nobody can run in 2024. Nobody could ever run for elections again, because all that will happen is they'll be rigged. So it's pretty pointless anyone running other than two establishment candidates who both working for the deep state, because they're the only ones that will be permitted to win. So I mean, I think it's what we're going to. I think my prediction is what we're going to see is at some point, probably within the next couple of months. I can't see it going on longer than the end of this year. Joe Biden is going to be arrested. He's going to be removed. Trump is going to be back in the White House. Trump is the legitimate president of the United States. This is why do you think they impeached him? You know it's unconstitutional to impeach a private citizen. They impeached Trump because he's still the president. They know that. That's why they impeached. That's why they got away with impeaching him. I think before the end of the year, we're going to see Trump back in the White House and Joe Biden in jail. That's what I hope will happen anyway. If it doesn't, well, we'll see. We'll cross that bridge when we come to it. Steve continues. The Dems would get in forever. I think they are. See, I think they are going to be in until someone arrests them and expose them for the criminals they are. Personally, I think Trump is screwed. People will never want to go through all this voter fraud nonsense again. He'll never be voted back in. People are smarter than that. Well, I don't think Trump is screwed, but you're right. People don't want to go through this voter fraud nonsense. It's not the fact that it exists is not nonsense. The fact that it happened is pretty awful. No one wants to go through that kind of election again. We want a fair election. So I know the point you're making, but you're right. People don't want to go through with it. He will never be voted back in. Well, no, of course he won't be. Of course he won't be voted back in if he tries to run again in a system where elections are rigged. You could be the most popular person in the world and you'll never get in because the election will simply be rigged against you. You see, this has been going on a long time, and there's distinct evidence to suggest that John F. Kennedy was put in the White House by a rigged election. I mean, the deep state obviously thought he was one of theirs originally, but obviously he turned against them. Charles Unleashed says underneath, the problem with getting rid of an influential public figure is you never know who's going to replace them. Well, that's true, yeah. I think that's what people were saying. Some of the anti-Trump people were against impeaching Trump because they thought, well, then we'll have President Pence. Oh, my God. Reply to comments 38. Steve Mumbling says, welcome to Bizarro Ben World, where the Queen of England is a shape-shifting lizard from outer space. Trump won the US election. Free energy is real. 9/11 was an inside job using directed energy weapons, and aliens from outer space visit us on a regular basis. Sounds much more fun than the real world, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, Steve, I know you're being sarcastic, but all those things you just said are actually true. And I do think that, and I explain why. I don't think it is actually bizarre, I think it's reality. So, take it, just removing the sarcasm from what you said, I 100% agree. As for sounds more fun than the real world, the thing is, that is the real world, Steve. That's the thing. I wish it would, actually, I'd rather live in a world where these kinds of conspiracies didn't happen, where we were free and we didn't have to worry about false flag terrorist attacks and life-saving directed energy being and things like that, and free energy being kept from us. I'd rather we didn't have to deal with that. As for the aliens, I don't know about the aliens. I think I'm glad that we don't live in a dead universe. I think it's quite nice that we live in a universe full of life, and we're not alone. We're the only planet in the universe with life, as we're often portrayed. Charles Unleashed says underneath, so are we all going to die and end up as a brain in a jar on a hostile spaceship? Is more fun, is it? Oh, you're a Red Dwarf fan, are you, Charles? Yeah, that must be some strange usage of the word fun that I was previously unaware of. Well, the thing is, if you were a brain in a jar, you wouldn't know it, you see. If you were having some kind of simulated world directed into your cortex, you wouldn't know it, would you? Evans Land audiobook part 3 of 5. Diego Rivera. Israel Diego Rivera 2 Genius 2 says, sign the no vaccine passport parliament petition. Disgrace. I've done it, mate. I've done it. Absolutely. Evans Land audiobook part 1 of 5. Christy Morland says, listening to this before I go to bed. Oh, good. I reply underneath, I hope you enjoy it. Evans Land 1 of 5, Goonlove says, I like this type of content, mate. Oh, thank you, Goonlove. I might do one for Rockall, actually, like an audiobook. If you want to read Rockall, the text version is on Ben's bookcase. And I'm going to put Evans Land on there too. Evans Land 1 of 5, Lime Spec says, nearly 4 hours in and Liberace has started. Goes quite okay to some sections of it. It does actually to some of them, but unfortunately the end of the first act, of course, is quite intense. It's quite an intensely emotional set of scenes, and Liberace was playing through them all. You may have detected a bit of cringe in my voice when I'm reading some of the book, because firstly, some of it's not very good, and also it's by far the most emotionally intense thing I've ever written. And it's a bit over the top, I think, in some cases. It's rather excessively sentimental in some areas, and it's the sort of thing I wouldn't write now. But it just shows possibly that I'm not only a very different writer to who I was 20 years ago, I'm also a very, very different person generally. As people do, people change. People change. Writers, I mean, it's not unlike Robert Heinlein, because I read Starship Troopers recently. And I was astonished because I thought it wasn't as good as his other works. I've read 5 of his other books, and I thought this is not very good, but also not very good. It's so different. I couldn't believe that it was written by the same person, the same author, but it was. Robert Heinlein wrote both that, and then see, my favourite of Heinlein's book is Friday. This is one of his later period. In 1982, he published that, and I absolutely love that book. It's fantastic. It's fantastic in so many ways, but it's so different from Starship Troopers. It's unbelievable. It's different in style. It's different in political perspective. It's in so many other ways. In almost every way, it's a different book. But it's by the same author. It's written by the same author 23 years apart. So you could say the same about me. I mean, I do recognise my style in that book, in Evans Land, but apart from that, it's so different. David Smith says on Reply to Comments 38, Ben, when you talk about the Q thing, it seems you change from saying it's something they predicted, then when it turns out to be wrong, it changes to the plan failed. Which is it? This ever-moving target that can never be falsified in any way, can never be shown to be wrong, because when they make a prediction, it's all wait and see, and then when it doesn't happen, it turns into, well, the plan failed because... Well, that's a fair point. I mean, the problem with Q, David, is that it's like Nostradamus. Q does not communicate in the same way, say, other whistleblowers do, like Edward Snowden or Julian Assange. They simply put information out there. But the thing about it is that what the result of that has been that they've been rejected and defamed and despised and spat upon by much of the public, who just believe the lies told in the mainstream media about them. Q's tactic is different. Q is somebody who's is not essentially trying to put information out there. What Q is doing is trying to engage the public who have access to his, her, or their information, He, she, or they are trying to get the public to think in different ways. That's their. I explain this in my various videos about Q. So of course you can never prove it. You can never prove something because Q doesn't actually doesn't actually make specific predictions. Q simply then says certain things, and then the Q posters analyse and interpret it. And I've been reading through these various analysis and interpretations, and they vary enormously. But I mean, one thing that's very, very clear is that Trump is supposed to protect the nation from the deep state. Now, he can't do that when he's not president. And there's nothing in anything the Q posters said originally that indicates Trump being removed from office so that someone else can become president. That's not in any of the interpretations. So, yeah, the plan. That I think in that situation, despite all the ambiguity and vacillation in terms of analysis, the ambiguity from Q himself and the analysis in terms of the Q posters, I think we can safely say when Trump is apparently removed from office and Joe Biden is put wrongfully into the White House, I think we can safely say that the plan failed. I think that's something I think you would certainly say. As for the wait and see bit, well, I'm actually working on an article for HPANWO Voice about the CPAC speech which Trump gave, so keep your eye on HPANWO Voice for that, because I'll say a bit more about that. I'll put a few predictions for the future into that. On the same video, David Smith says, I brought up the TV fake UFO thing because you mentioned it previously in a reply. Oh, right, that's a very British UFO hoax, yeah. But they fly a fake UFO. It's actually a kind of balloon, like a little mini unmanned airship. They fly it over Avebury to see if they can fool people. I brought up the fake UFO thing, TV UFO thing, because you mentioned it in a previous reply. Whilst interesting, I don't think it overrides the plethora of evidence we have for people being very poor eyewitnesses. We'll watch the Sargon video you mentioned at some point, but really can't stand him. Oh, right. Which Sargon video was that? Sorry, David. This was a while ago. I don't quite remember. That's actually another reason to make comment reply videos more often, actually, so I can actually remember what people were saying in the previous ones. I mean, you're not a fan of Sargon, fair enough. I like Sargon personally, but I did mention Sargon at some point. Yeah, I did. Sargon of Akkad. Carl Benjamin. He's got a new show. He's got a new channel called Podcast of the Lotus Eaters. But it's, well, as far as people being poor eyewitnesses, there is evidence to suggest that there is misinterpretations of the same physical object. You know, it's like the elephant situation. You know, is it a tree? Is it a rope? Is it a snake? Things like that. People will see certain aspects of it and then interpret it in their own way. However, I don't think it can be ignored. The effect of this particular experiment, I don't think you can ignore it. I think it's something that has to be addressed. It was almost a kind of like a straw man situation. You know, Avebury is this place where people do sky watches and they all believe in crop circles and things like that. Yet when a disc-shaped drone flies over them, they report basically what they see. That can't be ignored. That requires explanation. I'll put another little tag here. We're still in the second hour. Right. David Smith says on reply to comments 38, here's an interesting clip about how Trump messed up. It's about 3 minutes with some graphs. I don't agree with everything the guy says, but I think the overall point is pretty valid. Okay, 3 minutes I can probably manage, actually. Let's have a look.
Thanks very much, Justin.
Oh,
now,
no.
this thing that's going to come up on your screen, go ahead, David. It's somebody could put the link in chat, and we're not. Yes, we started playing.
Okay, well, this is a running bar graph about levels of COVID-19 infection in the various states of the Union.
You'll see the date go by. There's June. What this is doing is it's graphing COVID cases in the United States since June 1st, 2020. and it is cases per million, so it is already adjusted for population. And then it's color-coded by whether or not the state is Republican controlled, that's what the red is, or blue, that's democratically controlled. And as you watch, some really interesting things happen. We're up to July now, I'm up to October actually on my chart, and there's almost no blue left. I was looking at what you guys are seeing, and I'm 20, 30 seconds ahead of you guys.
That's amazing.
No, it's fine. Spread it all the way up, and when you get to the end, make sure you hit pause on today, because we're February 9th. Make sure you pause, or it'll start over.
Okay. All right. I get the point. David. You're saying that what you couldn't see what I was seeing back then. You could hear the person talking. You couldn't see what I was seeing. What they were actually saying was that that infections of COVID-19 in states controlled by the Republicans is much higher than in states controlled by the Democrats. Now, that could have something to do with that. There could be various factors going into that. Saying how Trump messed up, I think, and as you say, you don't agree with everything this guy says. The overall point is valid, but the overall point is simply that levels of infection reported by the official statistics in states controlled by the Republicans is higher than those controlled by the Democrats. That's the only actual factual point being made. There's no explanation, there's no analysis of this, there's no metadata that explains why that might happen. For example, is it actual infections or is it number of tests? Is it related to lockdown rules or not? Things like that. Because if there's actually something causal about it, for example, in Republican-controlled states, there's more testing done, then yes, you could, or that's a reason. Or you could say, well, the Democrats have more lockdowns. Do lockdowns work? Well, in countries such as Sweden, where they have no lockdown, is the infection rate higher than in countries like Britain, where we have very, very strict lockdown rules? Britain currently is actually head of the population with the highest in Europe in terms of infection rates. But then, are infection rates caused by people actually catching the coronavirus, or are they caused by people being tests? How accurate are the tests? Things like that. So without any further analysis, it doesn't really make much point. It doesn't really make much sense here. And Charles Unleashed says underneath, Dolan gets his arse handed to him a couple of weeks ago for going full Proud Boys. Is that Richard Dolan, Charles Unleashed? Oh, what's that about? I mean, I haven't watched Richard Dolan for a while, actually. Evansland 1 to 5. Bardy's Den says, I think you should have narrated it all in a Steve Mumbling voice. The day on which Evan Hughes met the man who would change his life forever. Snarlock says, lol, I was thinking the same about a Brian Cox voice as well. Hey, the day on which Evan Hughes met the man who changed his life forever. Yeah, I could have done that, but the problem is, by the time I got to the end of part 5, someone would have come around and shot me. Reply to comments 38. Charles Unleashed says, oh, bloody hell, now you've done it, Ben. We were supposed to be helping that poor soul, Richard D. Hall, get over his aversion to air punching. Your comment about him having devil's horns will push him over the edge. Punch in the air. Oh, Evansland 1 to 5. BZ Garson said, I set it to 25 playback speed, A, because it makes Ben sound like a pissed up, depressed, constipated lizard person trying to have a crap. Or B said, maybe that's what I am. B, it's so good, I need to stretch it out longer. 29 hours fly by. Alright. Funny enough, like, the thing about it is, though, if you think about the playback speed, and what I've noticed is that you do get, like, you can increase playback speed now, and of course if you increase playback speed on an audio track, the pitch rises according to the speed of the playback. However, now these days there's a special gimmick which actually lowers the pitch proportionally. So I've seen quite a few of those. So you don't actually sound like a constipated lizard person. All right, now David here has made a video. Okay, I'll just have to bookmark this. All right, David, I'm actually. I'm thinking of making a kind of like a reply video to this because this is interesting stuff. Yeah, I like this. This is pretty good, mate. This is pretty good. There's no need. You know, I know you put a copyright disclaimer in there. Don't worry. I mean, you know, I'm not gonna. Obviously, I'm not gonna sue you or flag your video. You don't have to worry about that, really. Steve Bumbling always does that too. But I did watch it a bit earlier on. I will watch. I'll give it another watch later and comment later because you bring up a lot of interesting points. But I appreciate you taking the time. I do. I've actually left you a little text comment here as well. So, and you did say. David Smith says, you feel it's unfair or you're not happy with it, I'll take it down. We'll work on a longer response when I get the time. No, it's absolutely fine, David. It's not in any... It's nothing I would want removed. It's absolutely fine. And then, right, Charles Scott then asked me about the comments. I've emailed him about that. That's another technical problem. Right, here we go. Trump impeachment live stream. Pookie Nana, hi Pookie, how are you? Says, nice one, Ben. Wishing you a peaceful weekend. Thank you too, Pookie. Pookie Nana, incidentally, I know Pookie. Pookie is now on Odyssey, so which is nice. I've got Pookie Nana. I'd better open Odyssey actually because I've got some comments there, which I'll be going into later. Because I do get comments on Odyssey as well. Odyssey seems to be is actually really growing. It's actually it crashed yesterday because so many new people were joining it. There's a whole load of people joined, and I don't. It's really big. It's becoming the new BitChute. It really is. And I say thanks for taking part, you two. And he says always a pleasure because Pookie was in chat. That's right. Yeah, in the live chat. BM 2018 says 700 increase in immigration and the naturalization of 11 million illegals. The Republic is over. That's on Trump impeachment livestream. That's BM. Well, it's not over yet, but that was always part of the plan. I mean, the plan was to demolish the wall, get everything back on track. I mean, we've seen so much. In a sense, we've seen an absolute rush to get America back to normal, as the saying goes, in that sort of way. I was actually quite dismayed at how quickly Joe Biden began offensive actions in the Middle East again. I thought it would take longer, but it was literally a month after he was inaugurated, fakely inaugurated, you're getting bombs dropped on Syria again. He says America is back. Do you remember that phrase, America is back? What he means by that is the globalist occupation of America is back on track. Same with the immigration thing. They're speeding that up again. They're moving Mexico into the United States. They're mixing the whole thing up. They're setting it up for the superstate, the American Free Trade Agreement, which is eventually going to become the American Union, which will eventually be merged in with the European Union, the African Union, the Asian Union, etc., the Australian Union, into the one world government. This is a plan, which is a plan that was first suggested by Joseph Stalin. He said that dictatorial world government could be achieved in 2 stages by having continental superstates, which would then be merged into the global state. It is literally Oceania, East Asia, and Eurasia, as in the 1984 model. But it's not. You say the Republic is over. It's not over yet, BM. I mean, despite everything, I mean, I think I make this clear in the live stream, which I don't know if you actually listened live. I didn't see you in chat, but obviously you've watched the recording. We shouldn't give up. There is reason to be hopeful. There's reason to not to throw the towel in. Just stick with it and see what happens. Legend Real said on Trump impeachment livestream. I've just noticed this from last night. Thank you, Ben. I have noticed the dead end to YouTube and their recommendations. When you go to YouTube personally hit your subscriptions button first and it will open all your old interests in real time. Google will not assist. Hit your subscription button on YouTube and it will enlighten once again, lol. Yeah, that's a lot. Several people have complained about this. And I actually found, who was it I was unsubscribed to? But I suddenly noticed I was unsubscribed to somebody. I think it was, I might have been unsubbed to him again. It was Calamity. Let's have a look. Oh no, I am still subbed to him. Good, because he's a Scottish bloke. He's like a political commentator, and twice I was unsubscribed to him. I'm still there now. All right. Okay, so Now, where was I? Yeah. Evansland 1 to 5. Snarnox says, I wonder what Steve Mumbling will think of this. It'll be interesting to see what he says about Evansland in his comments. Oh, well, he may say something. I mean, he may be surprised, actually, that it actually came from me, because the book, as you know, if you've listened to the whole book, it's not the kind of it's not something I could ever write now. I literally couldn't write it now. I mean, I'm glad I preserved it. Like I said, I originally planned to let it die, and I thought, no, you never know. Some people like it. Who knows? Let me keep it in case other people want to read it too. But Steve Mumbling he'll probably be disappointed, actually, because he'll go all the way through it, and he won't hear anything about UFOs or ghosts or conspiracies, and he'll think, did Ben Emlyn-Jones really write this? It's interesting. I mean, the funny thing is, I often thought to myself that because it's a book about Wales, it's set in Wales, that I would probably, if I didn't already have such a very Welsh name, I'd have probably given myself a Welsh pen name in writing this book. But seeing as I've already got a very Welsh name, it doesn't matter, I can use my own. Rabbit, it's proselytizing Orthodox Pentecostal trans rabbit, says on Trump impeachment livestream. Ben, getting into Q-LARPing, it might help getting views, I guess. Oh, don't. What do you mean? Firstly, I'm not getting into Q-LARPing. I've always had a favourable vision of Q. I've never ever have I gone along with anyone saying, oh, Q's all rubbish, it's a psyop, it's a LARP, and things like that. I've never gone along with that. Never. Snarnox says, on the Trump impeachment livestream, have you read the Baron Trump Omnibus and the Last President by Ingersoll Lockwood? I have not read it, but I've heard about it, and it's fascinating. It's like, it's what is it? It talks about, like, it's almost like the prophecy of St. Malachi. It's what is it? It talks about the last president, the President Donald Trump conspiracy, the Baron Trump novels, two children's book written in 1889 and 1893 by the American author Ingersoll Lockwood. There's a perceived similarities between their protagonist and US President Donald Trump. It is almost like some kind of prediction. Yeah, it's a weird thing. I've not read it, but God, maybe I should, because it's rather like that. What's it called? Hang on, here we go. Here we go. Yeah, Futility. This is interesting. There's a book called The Wreck of the Titan. Futility, The Wreck of the Titan. It's written by Morgan Robertson in 1898. And features a British ocean liner called Titan that sinks in the North Atlantic Ocean after hitting an iceberg. Remind you of anything? It's almost like there is some kind of like backwards echo through time. Maybe it was some kind of quantum entanglement effect, because we know, from the various experiments done in Australia that at least information on the quantum level can go backwards in time. And of course, I know that it's supposed to be physically impossible to go backwards in time, because you get paradoxes and things like that, and all kinds of other reasons that prevent it from happening. However, I don't know if you saw my Zohar video. I wrote it anyway, about time travel, about how maybe there's like parallel universes involved or something like that. But it's almost like some people can sense things that, if they're not definitely happening in the future, they might happen in the future. They're sort of like potential futures that sometimes come true. BZ Garson, same video. Why is it so difficult for you to comprehend that Biden got more legitimate votes than Trump? Well, the reason firstly, it's not difficult for me to comprehend it. He didn't get more legitimate votes than Trump, BZ. Trump had got... Oh, hang on. Oops. I forgot Ingersoll Lockwood was on my clipboard, so I've got to go back to my previous clipboard. We're still on the second hour. Oh, now we're on the third hour. Alright, guys, I think I'll just... Here we go. Right. And stop. I think I'll just carry on. I might as well. Okay. So we're now on the third hour. Right. Let me just on the third hour. That's right. Okay. It'll be answered on the third hour of the upcoming comments reply video. Hang on. Whoops. Third. Okay. Well, firstly, I said he didn't get more legitimate votes than Trump. That's the point. So it's a silly question because I can't comprehend something that's not true. I explain why it's not true. That's like saying, why is it so difficult for you to comprehend that 2 + 2 = 5? You know, it's a no-brainer. It's an oxymoron. I mean, I explained in the video exactly why I think that Trump got more votes than Biden. Okay, Trump has not got the divine right to win. No, he doesn't, but he has the right to win if more people vote for him in a properly contested and properly conducted election. When are you going to let this drop? You're making yourself look more foolish the longer it goes on. I'm not going to let it drop because it's not true, B said. I don't care how it makes me look. You know, you sometimes when you say things that are true, most people look at you and they think you're foolish. This has happened many times in my life. There's many people who put forward ideas in the past which we now consider truisms, like, for example, the Earth goes round the sun, things like that. Many of them were looked at askance and, you know, eyebrows raised, and they weren't invited to parties and things like that. Many times, and some of them faced much worse. Galileo placed under house arrest. Giordano Bruno burnt at the stake. Many other examples. I don't care how it makes me look. Either this is true or it's untrue. I think it's true. If you think it's not true, feel free to debate the various points I make and the various issues that come out of the thesis. And by the way, I know Dominion is being sued. That's all part of this whole sort of thing. As I said to Steve Mumbling, you got to realise that simply someone saying I'm going to sue you does not mean what I say is true and what you say is false. Right, alright, this is try again. Okay, this is the lights were low on Trump impeachment. Now, I made a story about, I mentioned the story about I thought Alfred the Great, he was hiding in a cave once, and he felt like he wanted to give up in this war he was fighting, and then he saw a spider climbing up the wall, and the spider tried to climb up the wall and couldn't make it. Tried again, kept trying, and eventually after 6 efforts, the spider managed to get up the wall. And it was Robert the Bruce, not Alfred the Great. Robert the Bruce sat there and think, if that spider's not going to give her up, neither am I. Trump impeachment live stream. Benson Fables says, 1,000 miles per hour surface speed. Lol, that's the globe model, you know, with a centrifugal force going one way, but quite oddly allows objects to go in all directions at the same rate of speed. You spin me right round, baby. Anyway, nice upload, thank you. You're very welcome, Benson. Now, this is you're referring to the flat earthers who say, well, if the Earth is spinning at like 12,000 miles per hour or whatever it is, once 24 hours to go all the way around, 22,000 miles. If it's 22,000 circumference at the equator, then basically it's 1,000 miles per hour. So why don't people fly off? Well, that's because it's to do with inertia. It may be, the thing is, even though the Earth is spinning very fast, the Earth is very big, which means the actual inertia people experience when standing on the surface is very low. You basically, it's this usual thing about the Coriolis effect and things like that. Because you don't actually, there's very little inertia indeed, because essentially if you were, for example, if you were on a carousel sitting on a horse, which took 24 hours to do one revolution, you wouldn't feel much centrifugal force either. And the size is not relevant. The carousel is much smaller than the Earth. The size is not relevant. What matters is the actual speed, the change of velocity, the speed of the change of velocity. On a small object spinning very fast, then there's a lot of change of velocity. So if you're on a carousel, you can feel that force pulling you off the side of it. But if you're on the Earth, it's you're not really. The change of velocity is very small. The change of velocity is basically 360 degrees, but it takes 24 hours. I mean, there's very little centrifugal effect from that. Videos from the underground. Trump impeachment livestream. What's this? All right. It's quite a long comment here. And this is by, Videos from the Underground. Ben, I'm not getting notices about your broadcast for some reason. Oh, not another one? Bloody hell. I will listen now. And Zuck of Facebook wants to be dictator. And he does, doesn't he? We will outsmart him. Yep. That's what Odyssey, that's what Parler, Gab, Minds, MeWe, that's what they're all about. This is a preview to fighting back against censorship. It's more than a preview, mate. We're doing it. Until our election system is cleaned up, there will be no change. Just cheating in the future. Exactly. There has to be something drastic done. China Joe, the fake president, is a liar and a thief. Correct. Our legislature is mostly corrupt. Simon Park says, I believe it. Come to find out, a lot of foreign aid gets kicked back to the congressmen in bribes and payoffs. Still no action. I'm waiting. Oh, the foreign aid thing is an absolute scam. Yeah. It's justifiable because people generally are kind-hearted and they think it's going to a good cause, and it's not. It's going that which goes into the countries it's aimed at simply goes into the pockets of the rich and the political classes. They spend it on armaments. I mean, India, Britain gave India £3 billion in foreign aid. They upgraded their navy. They built a fleet of nuclear submarines and a new aircraft carrier. They've now got nuclear missiles pointing at Pakistan, paid for by British foreign aid, effectively. And Pakistan now are doing the same. They've got their own nuclear missiles pointing at India. So you're absolutely right. Yeah, and that's just the start of it. I mean, the corruption is incredible. The swamp, unfortunately, is still there. Hasn't been drained yet, but it will be. Trump won't reveal his plan until he's in it, because everyone will see it, including his enemies, thus giving them ammunition to fire back. Unfortunately, Marxism has wormed its way into our governments and schools. They see Trump as a threat because he was undoing their plans for a Marxist takeover of the country. Yeah, exactly. Q is like what Q is currently trying to get people to. He's trying to educate people by getting them to think in a certain way, rather than simply giving them information which they'll just spit out because they're brainwashed. The brainwashing itself has to be undone. But yeah, then Trump is clearly. I mean, the people who go, the people who go like, oh, Trump is just another insider, Ben. Can't you see it? I think you must be joking. I mean, it's. Yeah, Alexandria Occasional Cortex should be her name. I call it Alexandria Occasionally Courteous. You know, packing the Supreme Court, letting in millions of illegal immigrants, gaslighting the voters. Democrats are now communists. I think they've always been communists. Yeah, the first thing they're doing with the fake President Biden is trying to undo all the good that Trump did and get America back on track for the New World Order. I hope it won't work, but that's what they're trying to do. The Democrats are guilty of projection. What they are doing themselves, they claim they're victims of doing. Oldest trick in the book, isn't it? Basic psychology terminology. Democrats have been taken over by Marxists. The Dems love to accuse, and keep repeating and not stop. They are the party of hate. Once again, projecting their intentions onto their victims. There's that word again, projecting. Yeah. Some are saying that China Joe stole the presidency of the United States, Inc., and Trump is the new president of the Republic. The Act of 1871 created USA Incorporated after the country was broke from the Civil War, having no money than the people of the country. Their legal fictions was held as collateral for the loan. Jordan Maxwell goes on about this, and not many have been able to expertly explain it properly at length. Yes, basically, yes, that's exactly what happened. Now, some people are saying that I think it's actually the 4th of this month, which is in 2 days' time. Something big is going to happen because that's when the old inauguration day was under the old system, and Trump will do something that day. I don't know. Of course, as you said, he's not going to say so openly because he won't reveal it to his enemies. Although he gave some hints in his CPAC speech, as I will be explaining in my article about it. But yeah, good. That's a good one. Videos. Thank you very much. Oh, a new video. Mexit is done. Diego Rivera says, Ben, you have lots of female fans on your channel. And Jam Noise says, yes, he does. Thank you, Jam Noise. Jam Noise is my soul sister. Thank you. And we have now Pookie Nana on Mexit is done. The most polite comment I could possibly leave is, great video, Ben. I hope you were well. Oh, thank you very much, Pookie Nana. Pookie and Nana I actually have been on a live stream with on Jam Noise 70U's channel. I've known Jam Noise for like about 13 years. Pookie, I've just met. Okay, and Jam Noise and Pookie now have a little personal conversation here, which is cool. Jam Noise 71 says, "Hi, bro. Hi, Jam Noise. How are you, soul sister? Thanks for posting the comments on here. I loved your rendition of Frankie Goes to Hollywood, The Power of Love. It seems like appropriate considering the sad loss we've experienced in our community." Mexit is done. Charles Unleashed says, "I bet they aren't off the civil list, though." Well, I don't. It's still being negotiated at the Sandringham summit. They made some deal. BZ says they are. Charles Unleashed says, "Down to 3 luxury mansions. Then how will they live?" And BZ said they will live. Charles Unleashed says extremely well, I suspect. Yeah, of course. I don't think they need the civil list. I think their celebrity status is going to. Is going to be their income, as it often is. I mean, they're going to be on. They're going to be on Oprah Winfrey's show in a few days' time. I mean, it is totally and utterly. The idea that they could ever be like broke is impossible. Tina Silver says on Mexit, "It's a way to rebreed royals back into the presidential line, as their US-born babes would be eligible to go into office. Jersey Royals, Hotel California. I hope you're well." Thanks, Tina. It could be that they have a political career, planned for Archie. I've got to feel Meghan's going to be more political. Meghan is already very much outspoken on political issues. She tends to take like the SJW line on most things, probably because maybe because she believes it, but also probably because it's very trendy. It could be that maybe Archie will end up as president. Maybe they plan to make him president one day. I don't know. And we have here Ahamata. I should point out Tina is claiming like the presidential lines are all European royalty, which is true. That's what Tina means. Ahamata Brahman says, "Don't forget Andrexit, who will be Nexit." Next. I think Andrexit is going to be clunk, click, door slam, key turn in lock, I hope. And I hope he lives longer than Epstein. And we have here Charles Unleashed on Mexit. "Victoria and Abdul was good TV, but complete propaganda. They were never alone together because they needed a translator. He didn't choose to stay. He was packed and ready to go home, but Victoria stitched him up by giving him a promotion to keep him there against his will. His friend was never threatened by the household and was never refused a doctor. About the only part of the film that is true, that he was fired after Victoria died." All right. Right, Charles, of course, history, not Hollywood. I know that's absolutely true. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that's not true. I enjoyed the film, but obviously if it's inaccurate, it's inaccurate. I haven't researched enough to dispute that. And Charles also says on reply to comments 38, "A few years ago, Brian Cox told a story about annoying his band members so much they stuck him to the ceiling with gaffer tape and left him there overnight. I guess he narrowly avoided a wood chipper, but it was close." Well, Charles, community guidelines and everything, but who brought him down again? Who actually cut the tape and let him down? They should have. They're guilty of crimes against humanity. They should have left him there. Andrew Munchkin, hello, says, "Ben, could you please interview David Weiss from the DIRTH channel?" Well, guess what? I have, Andrew. If you go to HPANWO Radio, you'll see that I actually interviewed David Weiss very recently. Actually, it was actually, when was it? Program 406 at the beginning of last month. I actually interviewed David Weiss. Interesting chap for a flatty. I mean, I've watched a couple of his videos. I interviewed him. We had a good discussion. I didn't agree with him. He didn't agree with me. But you know, I'm willing to talk to flatties. I don't care. I've got nothing against flat earthers. I just think they're wrong. That's all you can say about them. Not they're, oh, they're evil, they're shills, they're working for MI5. No, they're just wrong. Woody Black says on Mexit is done. When you were listing off Harry's titles and positions, it reminded me of Prince Harry and Blackadder. The Prince of Wales, Earl of March, Captain of the Guard, Grand Warden of the Northern and Eastern Marches, Chief Lunatic of the Duchy of Gloucester, Viceroy of Wales, Sheriff of Nottingham, Marquis of the Midlands, Lord Powmaker in Ordinary, and Harbinger of the Doomed Rat. And what was Edmund? He was Warden of the Royal Privies. Duke of Edinburgh, Warden of the Royal Privies. Yeah, and he says, we thank the King. Oh, he's brilliant. Brian Blessed was the King. Oh, that was so good he was in that. Yes. Thank you for your service we thank you for your service in Edinburgh, but we relieve you of them. Many happy returns, he says to his friend here. As a birthday present, he gives the Duchy of Edinburgh to his friend here, and Edmund Blackadder says, "It shall not be." Baldric says, "Yeah, I thought you were going to lose the privies there for a minute." Oh, it's classic, absolute classic. So Monty Python, that first series of Blackadder, it was really good. You see, it's written by Richard Curtis. Mexit is done. Jock of Ages says, "Evening, Ben. I think there's more truth about Senor Trudeau being fathered by Castro than we realise. Also, didn't Beatrice or Eugenia and her new hubby move into the Frogmore place? Hope all's well with you." All right. Yeah. As far as Justine Trudeau being fathered by Fidel Castro, it's based on two things. Firstly, his resemblance to Castro. You can see very clearly they look like each other. I mean, you could put a beard on Trudeau, and he'd look just like Fidel Castro, except I think Trudeau can't actually grow a beard. He hasn't gone through puberty yet. As for Frogmore Cottage. Did she move in? Let's just check. Let's have a look. Frogmore Cottage is a Grade 2 listed home on the Home Park, Windsor, built in 1801. Let's have a look. Originally Queen Victoria had it as a breakfast cottage. Tenants, various people who've lived there. Abdul Karim, as I said earlier. Grand Duchess Xenia Alexandrovna lived there after being kicked out of Russia in 1920. Here we go. In the early 21st century, the cottage was a series of 5 apartments for Windsor estate workers. In 2019, the house was converted into a 4-bedroom nursery single-family home on a sovereign grant for the Duke and Duchess of Sussex. There we are. And their son, Archie Mountbatten Windsor. Blah-de-blah-de-blah. However, after the Mexit situation, they shared their wish to repay the sovereign grant, which of course they did. In September, the sum was reportedly settled in full by the Duke. In November 2020, it was reported that all personal items belonging to the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had been removed. Yep, and that Princess Eugenie and her husband, Jack Brooksbank, had moved in the following month. All right, the following month, the cottage was reportedly vacant, but apparently, you're right. It could be that Eugenie. It was actually Eugenie and her husband who moved in there. Maybe they have. It's reportedly empty, but maybe they still plan to move in. I don't know. I'm not bad, thanks, Jock. Thank you very much. Lemsip says underneath, Margaret Trudeau. Yeah, this is another reason. Yeah, I should have pointed this out. Lemsip pointed out. Margaret Trudeau first met Fidel Castro after Justin was born, so it's more likely his younger brother was fathered by Castro. Lemsip, I heard that she knew that's the mother of Justin Trudeau, who's the wife of Pierre Trudeau, a former Prime Minister of Canada. I heard that she actually knew Castro before. It's rather like a sort of Hewitt-Diana thing, because she actually knew him, allegedly had a relationship with him around the time that Justin would have been conceived. And there is the physical resemblance that I've just mentioned. I mean, obviously, without a DNA test, you'll never know, and I don't think he's going to submit to one of those. John Nolan said on Mexit, "Hi, Ben, Roswell the First Witness, UFO UK, and even Alien Highway." Yeah, I want to see that. So we are all on at the same time tonight. Spoil for choice. Oh, Nick Pope is in one of them. Oh, right, I see. Well, you can't have a UFO night without Nick Pope, can you? But honestly, I mean, I want to watch those. I've not watched. I want to watch the First Witness one. That's on my list. I've watched the others. I think it's quite good actually how you have so much UFO material, an incredible amount of UFO material on TV at the moment. I think that's a very good sign. Mexit is done. Beetlejuice says, it's weird how people say the royal family have no power anymore, but they do, and it's all military power. It is partly Beetlejuice one, but it's also constitutional power. The Queen has to sign all parliamentary bills, even when they're voted through, and they've gone through the houses of Lords and House of Commons. She has to sign those bills for them to become law. They can't become an act of parliament without her assent. That's not military power. That is constitutional power. She could dissolve Parliament if she wanted to, and indeed she did in Australia in 1976. This is why there's a big Republican movement in Australia, because she did actually. What would happen if she did it here in Britain would be a different matter, because she's the Queen of England. Australia is part of the Commonwealth, which is different. This is why, in a sense, for the Republicans of Australia, she represents a foreign occupation. Here, of course, it's different because she's the Queen of England, and this is England. But either way, it's disturbing when you think about that. Lemsip says as well on Mexit is done. I only found out recently that the Queen and Duke of Edinburgh are third cousins, as Queen Victoria is great-great-grandmother to both of them. The Queen is descended from Queen Victoria down the paternal line, the Duke of Edinburgh down the maternal. Yeah, the Queen is descended from Queen Victoria down the paternal line, and the Duke of Edinburgh is down the maternal line. That's correct. They are third cousins indeed, and what's more, this often happens. I mean, this is why I think it's not a coincidence that these marriages happen. I mean, for example, both Kate Middleton and Meghan Markle are related to the royal family through through the Lords of Galloway. I think, which makes essentially, I think it means that Meghan and Harry are basically 18th cousins, I think. So it's like the Queen Mother's bloodline. It seems they're both related to the royal family through them. I don't remember the actual details, but I know Meghan on her father's side is descended from the Lords of Galloway. I covered this at the time of the royal wedding. I did a live stream and I did a couple of videos about the royal wedding. Snowy Sunday. Lemsip says, it snowed 3 times in January and February this year in Cardiff, but the snow didn't settle except for one day, the first time it snows. It rarely snows in Plymouth, though it does on Dartmoor sometimes in the winter. Even in 1982, when it snowed heavily all over the country, it didn't snow in Plymouth. The snow was so thick in Cardiff that year, when it melted it left behind floods. I do love how snow is insulating and reflective of the light from the street lamps at night. I know, Lemsip. I think it's the rarity of snow that makes it so special in this country. At least in some parts of the country more than others, because obviously if you go up into the Brecon Beacons, you'll get a lot of snow. At Dartmoor, of course, there's a lot of high ground. It'll snow there. The West Country, though, is you tend to get milder winters in, like, Cornwall, Devon, that area. You tend to get milder winters because of the Gulf Stream. It has an Irish-style climate, really. But yeah, I love it too, and I think that's it now for this year. But hopefully there'll be more next year. I'll get next winter if it snows. You can depend. I'll get my camera out. Mexit is done. Steve Mumbling says, if Hewitt wasn't Harry's father, he would be 25% reptile. PMSL. Well, he would, yeah, because his father Charles, who I don't know what proportion of reptilian Charles is, but he would be part of a reptilian bloodline. Harry is not. You see, Harry is human. His mother is human, and his father, of course, were human. Whereas William, of course, is at least 50% reptilian. He's 50% related to the Habsburg Illuminati bloodline, who are the Anunnaki. I recommend Fritz Springmeier's Bloodlines of the Illuminati. It goes into that in detail. Which is why, I mean, it's this Ben Sinister element that he represents. And Charles and I have a conversation in the next comment about this technical problem of comments and emails and things. That's not true. Yeah. Okay. Thanks very much, guys. Right. Right. Oh, this is where Charles Scott is mentioning on Mexit is done. I'm signed out of the Facebook link, and my comments have been deleted on the Steve Mumbling's George Adamski video. Whereas so far the links and comments have not been deleted on your channel. Therefore, if my link and comments remain on your channel, this indicates Steve Mumbling is probably shadow banning me. Not necessarily, Charles. I think it's more likely. It's more likely that Steve Mumbling is affected by the same thing, but it's not. It's an algorithm within YouTube that is not affecting both our channels together for whatever reason. I don't know. It may simply be a mistake. It may be something to do with the bots that are being used. I don't know. But Steve Mumbling's never deleted any of my comments. He doesn't habitually delete comments in my experience. Charles says here on Mexit, if you look at the screenshots 1 to 6 in the Facebook link, you can see several of my comments have been deleted after a few days. Oh, so Facebook are deleting your comments now? Because I did check out the Facebook page. I'm logged out of Facebook at the moment. I don't have Facebook open when I'm doing comments reply videos. It's too distracting. But yeah, obviously it's good to have a repository for your various comments, Charles. Definitely, I keep hold of that because there's a lot of work you've done in terms of mathematical analysis. Evansland 3 of 5 Lime Specs. I laughed at 457.42. Ben, you got your accents mixed. Oh right, yeah, I gave one of the characters the wrong voice and had to correct myself. Yes, it's not. I know it's not a very professionally put together audio book, but I don't have the time or energy to do that. John Nolan says Clifford Stone has died. Yep, he did, which is a shame. Guy who talks about crash retrievals and stuff like that, yeah. And John Nolan says, but Nick Pope is still around. Because I say in text, I know, very sad to hear the news. John Nolan replies, but Nick Pope is still around. And I reply, I'm thinking of a Bill Hicks line, yes. John Nolan says, the line is, Nick Pope is the UK's UFO guy. He seems to be the world's UFO guy now, isn't he? Yeah. The Shield Squad 3 Tribunal. Charles and I had a little email conversation, which I think led to this comment. Charles is against due process because it's devastating to my case. Oh yes, Charles's word is law, isn't it? How am I doing for time? 32 minutes remaining. I'm actually about almost 3/4 of the way through now. This is going to be a short one. Yeah. Okay, so we have a new video now. A reply to Caroline Stevens. Cosmic Claire says, if this carries on, Ben, maybe you should consider whether she's projecting her own complicity with the enemy onto you. Claire, I don't know what's got into it. I really don't. It's, as I say in the video, it's really very depressing that she's acting like this. Alex Ritchie said, fuck the Stevenses of this world. They're enemies. Hope you get a brain, or leave the circuit and become an MP. Caroline, you fuckwit. I wouldn't put it like that, Alex, but I'm very disappointed in her, and I said she is distributing material about me to the point where I wasn't going to say anything about this. If I'd known this was going to happen when I first came across this document years ago, I'd have made a rebuttal of it then. But I thought it's not a problem. It's just an obscure, it's an obscure little PDF written in 2014. No one's going to bother with it. And Caroline digs it up. She decides completely. The moment she's read it, she decides it's true somehow. God knows why. She blocks me, doesn't even talk to me about it, and starts distributing it to other people. I think it's the distributing it to other people bit, which is where the line is crossed and where I need to act. Jog of Ages says on reply to Caroline Stevens, this isn't worth worrying about. Anyone who reads this and watches your channel and reads your blog, etc., is going to see that it's a load of paranoid nonsense. I kind of feel bad for anyone with such an interest in you, mate. All the best. Well, thanks, Jock. I mean, maybe you're right. Maybe as Charles Unleashed said here underneath, a storm in a teacup. Maybe you're right. I mean, maybe I should have kept quiet about it. But I mean, when I realised she's distributed to at least 3 people now, some of them are going to, you know what it's like in this truth movement. Some of them are just going to say, "Oh my God," it's like Nick Pope, Bill Hicks. Hey, we got an intelligence report that says that Saddam Hussein likes to eat kittens for breakfast. Does he? The fucker. Let's go get him. Things like that. Rob Dickerson says on Caroline Stevens, Ben, you're a good man. Anyone that's followed your channel will know this, so take no notice. I have a hunch who this may be. Who's the woman that's got it in for Larry Warren? Sharon does seem bitter. That's Sasha Christie, Rob Dickinson. I don't think so, because this is actually a couple of years before all that kicked off. This was 2014. It's not the same person, but it's someone very similar in terms of their modus operandi. Sinara's Ashtray says in reply to Caroline Stevens, these people have way too much time on their hands, Ben. Oh, they really do, don't they, Sinara? Thank you very much. Mwah. Thank you. They really do, don't they? Yeah. I'll give you a love heart for that. Reply to Caroline Stevens, nothing as it seems, says, the best way to control the opposition is to lead it ourselves. An old tactic of the oligarchy. Yeah, it was Lenin who said that, wasn't it? And a lot of people made a big fuss about this thing in Russia, this Operation Mango or whatever it's called, where they had it's supposed to be compared to QAnon. In the 1920s in Russia, the new Soviet Union brought out this COINTELPRO, that there was some kind of secret royalist organisation hidden somewhere in Russia, yeah. The thing is, there are people within the truth movement who just believe everyone apart from them is a part of some kind of COINTELPRO. The big Scottish midgie says, haha, your exposure as an enemy agent is complete. I always knew there was something fishy about you, Ben. I know that. 1, you are a really skinny bloke wearing a fat suit. 2, you are not bald, it's a bald cap, including the fact you have hair like Brian May. It's difficult stuff in there, I'll tell you, midgie. 3, that's not a wee room in a shared house in Oxford where you live. You actually have a multi-million-dollar pad built in the side of a volcano. Oh, yes, that's right. And I've got a white cat on my lap as well. 4, you were never a porter. You were previously an ex-Special Forces captain and MI6 agent who assassinated a real porter and stole his uniform, including his pants, to which you now wear as a fake mask. 5, you are not Welsh but actually Japanese, using reverse makeup. Makeup Sean Connery wore. You only live twice. Movie exposed at last. You're right. You know what I like to do, midgie? I got my own space rocket and I go up and it has these jaws which open up and gobble up other spaceships. Yeah, that's it. My secret is blown. Bumbelina says in reply to Caroline Stevens, hi Ben, in my family and friends, you are the first place we go for anything unexplained. You are held in very high regard amongst a lot of folk. Oh, thank you, Bumbelina. That's much appreciated. And Marley Pumpkin says in reply to Caroline, a nut job attracts nut jobs. Well, I think that's probably true, yeah. Which is why it probably took so long for me to find this sort of thing. Charles Unleashed says to reply to Caroline Stevens, Ben, a government agent? What? And I suppose Liberace upstairs is playing subliminal messages via electric piano. Ooh, maybe he is. I think he's a shill, I think he is. And the vagina vulture. That's what it says. That's the name of this person. The vagina vulture. Is that... What is this? Well, I'm just going to have a look at the channel. Hope it doesn't take me to some porn site. Alright, the Vagina Vulture says, everyone knows that Liberace didn't transmit subliminal message via his piano. Elton John does too. Did transmit subliminal messages via his piano. Elton John does too. Do you know that if you play Candle in the Wind backwards, you can hear Lady Diana tell everyone that Henry Paul was sober the night she died? Yeah. Charles Unleashed says to the Vagina Vulture, next you'll be saying that Little Richard wasn't black and gay. Excellent banter, guys. Excellent. The best. I got the best banter agents on my entire channel. Anywhere on YouTube. Nowhere on YouTube has the best banter agents as I do, I'll tell you. Reply to Caroline Stevens, Jack Dawes said, What happened to a show on Wake Up UK? Well, Jack, that was dropped. It's... I don't know exactly what happened. I know she's basically broken off with almost everyone she knew when she first got into the Truth Movement. She started with Miles, now me, Wake Up UK. That's right. I mean, she still does the Seeking, as far as I know. I haven't checked because, as I said, she's blocked me, but she still has the Seeking the Truth show, which she does. But not at Wake Up UK. Wake Up UK have a whole load of other new guests, actually. Some of them are quite good. Jeremy Poole is very good. I've been on his show. he's very good. He's a Welsh bloke who lives in Spain. Yeah. Right, reply to Caroline. Dangerous Dan says, I can assure you that the autism-linked vaccine is unfounded. I'm anti-vaxxer and have an autistic child. Oh, right, that's to do with Dr. Andrew Wakefield and that. Oh, right. Well, I don't have time to go into that now, but I know some people dispute what Wakefield put across. Ben Cobham says, on reply to Caroline, Ben, I can't believe... Sorry, this is Bex Cobham. Pardon me, Bex Cobham says, Ben, I can't believe anyone would think you're a government agent. They do believe it or not, Bex. A lot of them do. I don't always agree with your politics, but you make great content. I love the UFO stuff. Keep doing what you're doing. You always seem like such a cheerful chap on your videos. Also, I never thought you were a shill. That's just plain ridiculous. Well, thank you, Bex. I'm glad you realised that. Charles, I'm glad you like the channel. Yeah, I really do. I'll give you a love heart for that. Yeah, keep watching. Keep watching. I will keep doing what I'm doing. And Charles Unleashed said, I know it's absolutely ridiculous. It's probably a little bitterness now that he's getting married to Agent Rin. Was I supposed to get married to Agent Caroline, was I? Her original husband was a handler, and then she was supposed to marry me, was she? Sonara's Ash Tree says to Charles, ha ha ha, yeah. John Nolan, my name is Bond, Ben Bond. Bex Cobham said, the woman who wrote all this stuff sounds unhinged and vindictive. Yeah, Sharon Kilby, whoever that, if that's even her name, or if it may be a him, not a her. Whoever they are, they sound out of their head, don't they? And unfortunately, there are damaged people in this truth movement. There are people who are in a bad state mentally, which is a shame. Richard D. Hall says on a reply to Caroline, Richard Hall is catching up, though. Over the years, he's gone from enthusiastic reporter to a strange, twitchy and paranoid hobo with that grubby, haunted look about him. It could just be a gimmick. He's working, I suppose. A gimmick he's working, but I'm not sure if he suspects himself as being a shill at this point. Suspects himself, yeah. Charles, Richard suspects most people have been shills, except Andrew Johnson. Richard is definitely a part of shill culture, but he's quite coherent compared to most, and he doesn't obsess over it. He does talk about other things apart from shills. But as far as the way he has changed, yeah. You say he's gone from an enthusiastic reporter to a strange, twitchy and paranoid hobo. He still produces quality content, I have to say. I do like his content. But he has changed. I first met him in 2010. He was at Probe. He sort of came out around about then. And he was quite a sort of happy-go-lucky, light-hearted kind of person. He had a sense of humour. He used to make comedy videos. I mean, he made a comedy video about the poet in the pub. In recent years, he has become very morose, very pessimistic, and paranoid, yeah. He's developed, I can only call a neurosis. I don't apologise for saying that. It doesn't change the fact that he does produce quality content, but I do caution him against overzealotry, because when he says things like, "Oh, Miles is an agent," well, he didn't say Miles was an agent, but what was the word he used? I suspect Miles has been. He words it very carefully. He says things like, "I suspect this person is compromised in some way," and things like that. But basically, he doesn't trust Miles. He doesn't trust me. He doesn't trust. All the people he used to trust, he doesn't trust anymore. It's basically him and Andrew Johnson now. Him and Andrew Johnson against the world. I think that's how he sees himself. And it's a shame. It's a shame. It really is. Caroline Stevens says, the Crown Protection Service, CPS, says, you're too much of an idiot to be an agent. All right. Once again, big mouths online as always. Crown Protection. Are you the real? What is the Crown Protection Service anyway? I wanted the Crown Prosecution Service. Oh, you see, we got a blank channel here, completely blank. No uploads, no subs, no comments, no playlists, nothing. No artwork, no logo, no banner. This Crown Protection Service is a person who simply joined YouTube to have a go at me. They created an account just to have a go at me. And do you know what, Crown Protection Service, whoever you are, do you want to stand in front of me and call me an idiot? Do you want to come in front of me, stand in front of me, call me an idiot to my face? Just you and me, nose to nose, eye to eye, we'll call each other. You can call each other. You call me that to my face. Because you know what? The conference circuit is going to reopen at some point. Conferences will start again. You'll know which ones I'm going to go to because I make no secrets about my movements. I don't just appear in places so that people don't have a plan to it, right? People might plan to do something. I don't feel the need to do that. I tell you in advance where I'm going to be. You could come and confront me at any time you like, just like all these trolls could. But I don't. If you feel that strongly about it, you'll make the journey. Why don't you? If you do, you'll be the first one ever, I'll tell you. Okay, and then Steve071 says to reply to Caroline, this diatribe against you is ridiculous nonsense, Ben. R.I.P. Ian R. Crane. Yeah, this is... Steve, of course, like myself, he found out about Ian round about the time I uploaded this. As soon as I finished uploading this, I went onto social media and I heard the terrible news, and I put a text message here. And Steve says... he'll be sadly missed. Yeah, as you know, I mean, my next video, my most recent video, is about that, which I'll be coming to shortly. Steve Sanderson says on reply to Caroline, you did well to keep yourself in check with your response. You have shown yourself to be the bigger person, and she's come off like a vindictive loony. Yes, thank you, Steve Sanderson, much appreciated. It's like, as far as I don't know if you're referring to this Sharon Kilby or Caroline. Obviously, Caroline didn't create this rubbish. She didn't create this article about me. However, she has, in a sense, affiliated herself with it by the fact that she believes it and is distributing it to other people as something real. So, I think this Sharon Kilby is the vindictive loony, but Caroline is tacitly giving her approval to this. And actively, you might say, by distributing it. That's what she needs to stop doing. That's what I insist that she stops at. Steve Sanderson has always been subscribed to me for 4 months, according to this little marker here. That's good, I got a notice here. Dangerous Dan says, mind control? Look at what we're hearing at the moment. Well, yeah. Definitely. Sunsets and Music says, on reply to Caroline, just when I thought I'd heard it all and nothing would surprise me, Ben, a shill. I highly doubt it. Come on now, Caroline, get a grip. I know. I don't know why she's done this. I mean, if she all she had to do was come and speak to me and talk to me about it, I would have explained these things to her. TK says, I'm a shill. How do I confess? TK, you just have. Putting a comment on my channel is probably the best way, I'll tell you. That's on reply to Caroline. Okay, new video now. Ian R. Crane dies. ET says heartbreaking. I know. Yep. Totally. There's going to be a lot of, I know what these comments, a lot of them are going to be like this. Basically people putting their own condolences in, which I really appreciate. Steve071, so sad, it's hit you hard, Ben. Ian learned of the corruption from an inside level. Then he knew he had to get out and tell of the deceit he'd seen. Yeah, I think he was on the inside when he realised the corruption was on the inside. There's two things you can do. You can either shrug your shoulders and say, well, I'm all right, Jack, I'll just carry on benefiting from this system, and he was benefiting from it. Or you can say, it's wrong, I'm going to do something about it. I'm not going to be a part of this anymore. I'm going to do something about it. And Ian, to his credit, to his enormous credit, chose the latter. The Trooper says, nice tribute. Thank you very much, Trooper. It's appreciated. Jamnoise72 says here, He did so much for fracking. The police treated him so badly there and pushed him in a ditch. I remember it pissed me off so much. Regardless of what people think, a man has died. R.I.P. Ian R. Crane. Yeah, I know. That's absolutely true, Soul Sister. Definitely. He was really heroic in terms of his on the ground activism, not just his lectures and his organising. He was an activist. He camped out at fracking sites. I mean, it's very much because of people like him that fracking has now gone out of favour. They succeeded in really. I mean, Thomas Sheridan made this point in his video. It's because of him. It's because of him, basically. So sorry, B. R.I.P. Thanks, Tina. Much appreciated. Insert Pie Now says he was passionate about his beliefs. R.I.P. Yeah, very. I mean, he like I said, he could have walked away from this. He was in a position where he didn't have to work his way up the greasy pole. He'd already got to the top of it. He'd spent the first 4 decades of his life living within the system and working within the system, his whole career. And he decided to change that. Changing your direction from that position is very difficult. I mean, he talks about the difficulty he had selling his house and things like that, about how his wife left him, things like that. So, yeah. Helen Moody, hi Helen Moody. Helen Moody, I know, I've met Helen, she exists. Blessings, Ian R. Crane, on your transition to the new dimension, and thanks for everything you taught us all in this one. Oh, sorry, Jack. Did I say Jack Dorsey's sad news? R.I.P. R.I.C. Yeah, I.R.C. R.I.P. I.R.C. Blessings, Ian R. Crane, says Helen Moody, on your transition to the new dimension, and thanks for everything you taught us all in this one. Enjoy the afterlife. Yeah. There's not a lot I can say to these comments except to agree with them. I think Sonara's Ashtray says, so very sad, Ben. He's irreplaceable. Yeah, there'll never be another Ian R. Crane, that's for certain. They broke the mould when they made him, I'll tell you. But he's still out there somewhere. He died peacefully with his family around him. I mean, you couldn't ask for more than that, could you? I mean, you couldn't ask for more than to live a life without shame, a life where you made choices, decent choices, and feel proud of what you've done, and just lie there in a bed with your family around you and slip peacefully out of this world. I think that's what I want. I think that's what most people want. Helen Moody says, rest in peace for all of us who had the opportunity and honour to experience the being known as Ian. This time is, as Ben expresses with heart, is the time to share the legacy and have multimedia viral celebrations of wake kind for him. Be kind to yourself and each other. Yeah. Monopod BS says, your heartfelt tribute to Ian was very moving. Thanks, Monopods. I didn't plan it. It wasn't scripted. I had no bullet points. I just got home from work, switched the camera on and started talking. And I'm pleased with what I did. I think I did the right thing. Jam Noise 72 says, I think what Andrew Johnson did was so insensitive. I'm not on the Book of Face, so thankfully I miss all the stupid drama, but that comment and where it was written is not right. Yeah, it's... You're not missing much by being off the Book of Face. Now, like I said, I don't... You know, I thought about what I said, and I'm still angry with Andrew for what he did. But it wasn't... I think I'd be far more angry if he just used this as an opportunity to attack Ian, and he didn't. I think it literally was simply, as you say, insensitive. He was being tactless. Maybe he's a little bit autistic. I don't know. Maybe he is. He's just basically wading in with his size 12s and just letting his mouthing off without thinking, which is not as bad as someone being cruel and hateful. But he still owes Ian's family an apology. And it's a shame. I sometimes think I was too hard on him. Maybe I was, but I was just so. I just reacted the way. I just reacted emotionally at the time. I just swore at him and I blocked him. You know. Bruno Gescher says R.I.P. Thanks, Bruno. Oh, there we are. Oh, we've got a thread now. We have a thread on ERIRC. Cosmic Claire says, that remark by Andrew Johnson is bizarre. Is he autistic? No, I mean, seriously, is he? The absolute absence of empathy is disturbing. Yeah, well, the absence of empathy is psychopathy, not autism. But I don't think Andrew does. I don't think Andrew lacks. He's not absent of empathy. I think the thing about autistic people, if Andrew is that, and I don't know, is that they lack an understanding of social mores. They sometimes say things which would normally be regarded as insensitive. They say things that they don't really quite understand the feelings of others. And Martin Johnson asks what remark was it, and Claire says, basically gives it in the video. Ben gives it in the video. It's something about how AJ criticised Ian for his views on the technicalities of how 9/11 was carried out, just when Ian had been diagnosed with a particularly virulent cancer. Totally inappropriate. That's it. Inappropriate. That's the right word. I seem to recall a rather autistic attitude towards disagreements with other researchers, but I don't recall the exact detail. It's such a long time ago. I think it took place around some Red Ice interviews nearly a decade ago. Yes, it was. Yes, Andrew attacked Red Ice a few years ago because they had Niels Harrit on. And what was it he said? I mean, there's many things you could have said, because Niels Harrit is a thermite man, and I understand why Andrew disagreed with him. But his response, what he said was, what he said was, Red Ice joins the 9/11 disinformation brigade. That's what he said. I mean, that's going too far. You can say that Niels Harrit is wrong about things and what he says. He was on this ridiculous BBC documentary. It was disgusting. But for Andrew to say that to Red Ice is very, very unfair. To say that to Henrik Palmgren and his team, to call them, they're just part of this info brigade because they had Niels Harrit on. They didn't ask him the questions I would have asked him. That's unfair. And Henrik gave a very angry response to Andrew, and to be honest, he's quite right to. Let's not forget that Henrik had Andrew on his radio show too. Andrew's been on Red Ice. They lost all their archive, but maybe it's still there. Let's have a look. Andrew, it may be on YouTube. This is Andrew Johnson's false disinformation claim against Red Ice. Red Ice Ed Humphreys. He was there. This is in the old days before Red Ice became alt-right. I could have sworn it was. I could have sworn it was there. Let me just. I don't want to get my facts wrong, but I remember hearing him. I don't want to get my facts wrong here. I remember seeing him on. If I'm wrong, then it's the Mandela effect, but I think it's unfair. I mean, they did have Dr. Judy Wood on, so Andrew was wrong there, and that was unfair. Yeah. I remember Henrik called Andrew a truth fascist. I can understand why Henrik was angry. I really can. Martin Johnson says to Claire, thanks for the info. Look up Brian Stavely, H3, has some interesting views on 9/11. Claire says thanks a lot. Steve Mumbling says, Claire, someone being diagnosed with a terrible disease doesn't suddenly make everything they say pearls of wisdom. Rubbish is rubbish, regardless of the health of the person spruiking it. Steve, there are times and places for criticising people. Right? If you have a disagreement with someone, you can say everything you like about how wrong you think they are. And Andrew did that for Ian before. And like I said in the video, I've got to admit, he's right in many of the things he says about Ian are true. I do think that Ian didn't take the right line against the thematically correct brigade. But when Ian, this doesn't make Ian a bad person. I mean, it doesn't change Ian being a decent man. I disagree with him on something the same way Andrew does. And sometimes Andrew and I disagree in the same way about the same things. That doesn't make Ian a bad person. And it doesn't give anyone the right when he's announcing to everyone he knows that he's probably going to die. In fact, he in his post he said he was probably going to die that very day. And then some stupid fucker walks in and just starts going on and on about it like nothing's happened, right? It doesn't. It is matter. It does matter. It's not about everything. It's not about changing what they say from rubbish into pearls of wisdom. It's about just having a little bit of heart, and a little bit of sensitivity, and a little bit of understanding. There are times and means for saying some things, and there's times for not saying another. Andrew, I wasn't the only one who was pissed off with what Andrew did. He just walked in there. He nuked the entire situation with what he ruined everything. And it's, to me, that's completely out of order. And he owes those people an apology. It's Ian and his loved ones. And Claire says to Steve, I might have guessed it was you, Mr. Stark. Your comment is completely off base. It's not about whether he was right about... It was about how brutally insensitive Andrew was in criticising him when he was dying of cancer. Why couldn't he just keep his fucking mouth shut instead of attacking a dying man? Disgraceful, and you are too. Well, exactly, Claire. That's it. My words precisely. And Steve, mumbling, says, fortunately, I think not. I've never heard of Crane before Ben told us he was unwell. I had a look at his 9/11 presentation. Utter rubbish. But I'm not going to read any more of that shite, Steve. Just shut the fuck up about Ian on this thread and then on this video, alright? I don't care what you think about Ian. Copy that comment and put it on another video, but not on this one, alright? I'm moving on. I'm not reading the rest of that. Pam Jones says about Ian, thanks, Ben. Let's keep his wonderful spirit alive. Thank you. I'm annoyed now. I'm annoyed. I want to see Steve mumbling. You sometimes beyond the pale. You really are. Gary Robinson. Sorry to hear that, Ben. I think he was a mate of yours, if I remember right. Watching, he was Gary. He was a wonderful guy. He was a bloke I knew personally. I didn't see him every day, but I mean, we were in touch with each other. We did spend some time together, and yeah, he was one of the best. Ed Kaler says, I'm sorry for the loss of your friend, Ben. Thanks, Ed. Thank you very much. Yeah, we've had a pillar pulled out from underneath us, I'll tell you. One of our generals has been taken from us. And Zephyrin Cochrane says, R.I.P. Ian, yeah. Thomas Sheridan says, lovely tribute, Ben. Thanks, Thomas. Tom, if you go to Thomas Sheridan's channel, he's got his own really lovely video describing his own memories of Ian and his own tribute to Ian, which is very, very moving as well. And Tanya Cummings says, so was yours, Thomas, lovely, and thank you for the link to the video which I watched. I hadn't seen that one before. May your heart heal in time. Best wishes. That's lovely, Tanya. Thank you. Goon Love says, gutted, mate. He was a great bloke. Yeah, I was fucking gutted as well, I'll tell you. And he says, R.I.P. Ian. Yeah. Thanks, Goon Love. CL Racing UK Ludacris. That's a new name for it. Used to be Chris Ludacris, wasn't it? Says, thanks for sharing these memories, Ben. Oh, you're welcome, Chris. You're welcome. That's on Ian R. Crane dies. And Gary Robertson says, on reply to Caroline, Ben, mate, the fact this lady spends so much time criticizing you for receiving mainstream media in the past is most likely because she's jealous that she's never had any similar action. You have to wonder what's the deal with people like this who put so much energy into slagging off other people on the internet. Keep on keeping on, mate. Pride and dignity. Thanks, Gary. You know, that's it, really. You know, some people just seek out drama because it's a shortcut to making a name for themselves. That's what Sasha Christie does. I mean, she's contributed nothing to the subject, but everyone knows who she is because she's able to generate drama. Animal Auntie Bev says, blimey, Ben, you could... This is on reply to Caroline. You could have done with all out this moment. I'm really sorry to hear about Ian R. Crane. Such sad news. Take care. Yeah, thanks, Animal Auntie Bev. You know, I didn't know about Ian when I was making this video. It's when I uploaded it, I saw it, and if I'd known about that, I wouldn't have made the video. I wouldn't have been able to. Karen Burns says, Ian may have been too good for this world on Ian R. Crane dies. Yeah, I think Was it that song by Billy Joel, Only the Good Die Young? It's remarkable, isn't it? I mean, I put a meme up about, just a comedy meme, because I was noticing in 2016 while so many people were dying, David Bowie, Carrie Fisher, Keith Chegwin, and all these other people. I was like going, they were all like in their late 50s, early 60s. Prince was 57. Oops, that's the end, and all the others. And I said, I put a meme, and I had like on one side I had all those people saying, on one side I had pictures of all those people saying, we think how much longer we could have lived. All we needed to do was be evil. And on the other side, I've got like Henry Kissinger, George Soros, Robert Mugabe, David Rockefeller, and they're going, well, we tried to tell you. Anyway, guys, I'm going to take a break now. That's the third hour over with. Right back shortly. Okay, back for hour number 4, which means this video is just 3 hours long so far. And I'm almost finished. I've only got a few more YouTube comments left in this particular run, which means I'm not bothering the timer this time, because I'm pretty confident I'll be finished within the next hour. But McLewis55 says, sad news, a lovely man. Yeah, he was, wasn't he? He really was. David Schultz, hi David, from ENR Crane dies. A blast from the past to those who are close to our way of thinking of like minds as follows. I know, this is a quote, I know for certain that we never lose the people we love, even to death. They continue to participate in every act, thought and decision we make. Their love leaves an indelible imprint on our memories. We find comfort in knowing that our lives have been enriched and by having shared their love. And that's by Leo Buscaglia, and the 31st of March 1924 to the 28th of June 1998. David, that's a lovely moving quote there, and it's absolutely true. I'm glad I actually watched this before Ian died, and that is the Netflix series Surviving Death. I really do recommend that. That's very good. That's Leslie Kane, who was like a consulting producer in that. There's an interview on Skeptico with Alex Kiris with her I've just been listening to. So yeah, thank you. That's really true. That's absolutely true. I reply to Caroline Stevens. Steve Mumbling says, lol, government agents have to be reasonably intelligent. Oh, very droll, Steve, very funny. David Smith says, yes we do. Oops. I always suspected you, David, yes. Steve Mumbling says to David Smith, I've worked for MI5 for years. Just ask Peter Paget, PMSL. It's funny, Steve Mumbling knew Peter Paget. I was surprised about that. He's not been very outspoken in the details, but when you get all these die-hard skeptics, you always find there's a little bit of a personal story behind them to explain their skepticism. That's the case with Susan Blackmore, if you remember the video I made about her. Steve Mumbling, Charles Unleashed says to Steve Mumbling, who handles who, Steve? Good question. Ian R. Crane dies. Pat Ryan says, first time on hearing this awful news, so sad. A great man, instrumental in helping me wake up. Thanks for making this, Ben. You're very welcome, Pat. He really has actually been the catalyst for so many people. He's done so much good. I mean, it's like, I suppose we maybe take people for granted. And I suppose he was just someone who was always there, and he's sort of like always available, but then suddenly he's gone. It's like they leave an awfully big hole, and you notice it when they're not there. You take it for granted when they're alive, and then they're gone, and it's like it's really quite something, Steve Mumbling on Ian Crane dies. It's not done to speak ill of the dead, so I'll say nothing. Well, you did earlier on, Steve, didn't you? You did earlier on. You put that stupid little comment on that thread. I mean, honestly, Steve, when James Randi died, I did make a video about it, and I explained that this is not a tribute. I said that. It's not a tribute. But, I'm not going to pretend that I'm overcome with grief. But at the same time, I'd at least show a little bit of consideration. That's all I wanted to do. Just condolences to the loved ones, that sort of thing. And I explored his life in as fair a way as I can. Can you do the same thing? Is it possible for you just to grant Ian R. Crane that same respect? That's all I'm asking for. You don't have to pretend to be as upset as people on our side are, but just realise, just show a bit of humanity. That's all I'm asking from you. Same video, John Nolan says, Ian and Clifford Stone will be badly missed. Not many people left like them. No, it's like there's others coming forward, of course, John. There's all the people like Pat Riot was saying, who Ian helped wake up. There's a whole new generation of people now who have actually become part of the truth movement because of people like Ian. Some of them join it, they get into this, and some of them are very, very positive. Most people, it's a very positive influence on their lives. Some people get into the truth movement and they're affected by its content so much that it does make them behave in a negative manner. They develop neuroses like Caroline Stevens. But I hope even people like Caroline will find their way through this phase out to the other side of this very turbulent inner turmoil you go through when you come across this sort of thing. DJ B2 said, Ian did a lot of good things, the conferences, the fracking protests, and bringing people together. Yet he really did. I mean, this is why I'm sure when he got to the pearly gates, I'm sure the first thing he can say is mission accomplished. Razmataz says on Ian R. Crane Dies, so sad to hear of Ian's passing. He was the first person I came across many years ago on my truth journey. I hope he can finally now rest in peace after all the hard work he did in his life. God bless him. My sentiments exactly, Raz, and you're another person who he has influenced enormously. BZ Garson says on my reply to Caroline, shock horror. Person who promotes QAnon's baseless fantasy conspiracy theories, personal abuse, lies and attacks, and individual character assassination is offended by the person who promotes baseless and personal fantasy conspiracy theories, personal abuse, lies, and attacks the character of an individual. You couldn't make it up. Well, as far as the QAnon stuff goes, the conspiracy theory is okay. But he said, when have I been personally abusive to anyone who wasn't to me? When have I lied? When have I attacked an individual character? When have I said anything about an individual character without good cause? When have I lied? When have I committed personal abuse? The first stuff, fair enough. You don't believe in QAnon. You don't believe all the stuff I talk about. But please explain the last bit. Woody Black says, wow, Ben, this lady sounds quite cheesed off, doesn't she? I don't know if you mean Sharon or Caroline, but yeah, they both do. Oh, yeah. She is very like Sasha Christie, actually, this person who wrote that article. It's very similar language, very similar reasoning or lack of it. Albert Trouble, that's a good name, it says on my Ian video. Great man, went to several of his talks in South Wales on fracking, and we asked him to talk at our local resistance group. I remember bumping into him at one of the service stations on the M5 in his old Rover with his parents. Wife and I had a nice chat with him. Rest in peace, Ian. Yeah, and a lot of people have like personal memories because he was open to people. He would talk to people. He would socialise with people. He wasn't above them. You know, getting to sit down for a drink with someone like Richard Hoagland is almost impossible. But with Ian was down to earth. He was one of us. He never forgot that. He would be very, very open to like a discussion and things. Very easy to approach and to talk to. Robin said on Ian, oh my God, no! I knew Ian through his efforts with anti-fracking. He was a good and kind, incredibly brave man. I'm so honoured to have known him and call him a friend. R.I.P. Yeah, Robin, I know, mate. It's horrific. It's really sad. Elizabeth Morton says on Ian, thank you, Ben. I'm so sorry for his loss, for all of us. Thanks, Elizabeth. Marie Jensen says, such sad news. Rest in peace, Ian. You guys are brilliant. I love these. You guys are so really wonderful about this. You really are. I mean, you appreciate him so much. You just go see, like I said, he's gone, and now we can't see him, and it's like everyone sees it now. He's gone. Line Spec says on reply to Caroline, I went to that website. Oh, that's Sharon Kilby. Yes, unhinged is the word. That's one word I'd use to describe it. Yeah, I've looked at some of the other articles, and there was equally, as you say, the other sections on RDH and the others are weird also. Some of the dates are odd to me. Was the Holly thing still going in 2013? I know that mainly from Edge Media in the late 2000s. Wasn't she on with Theo or somebody? I forgot about it after that, so it finally got debunked, did it? They were on Edge. I think they were on Edge Media. Yeah, Robert Green and Greg and that. I can't remember exactly. It was so long ago. But yeah, by 2013, it was pretty much on its last legs, and that's when that meeting took place in London, which I talked about. Paul Armstrong says, "Hi Paul, how you doing? Nice tribute, Ben. I always thought Crane was more rooted in the real world compared to many of his counterparts. As for Andrew Johnson, I've lost a lot of respect for him and his size 12 feet. R.I.P. Ian." Oh, thanks, Paul. You know, as far as Andrew Johnson goes, I mean, he is my professional relationship with Andrew Johnson has not changed. I haven't changed my opinion on anything he says, or any of his research. I'll still read his books. I'll still promote his website, his other things. It's a personal issue. You know what I mean? And you, of course, can have a different personal relationship with him if you like. So don't lose all respect for him. I still respect Andrew on a professional level. Tanya Cummings. Hi, Tanya. This is on Ian. "Hi Ben, I found my way here. Never seen you before, but you and your heartfelt stream of consciousness video was just what I needed. I really felt connected to you and the feelings you expressed about Ian. I too have been watching some of his videos tonight. Thank you for bearing your heart in its grief in a simple chat in the pub way. It meant a lot, and I'm sure if Ian heard it, it would mean a lot to him as well. I'm English, living in Australia. I first saw Ian in Glastonbury in 2010, then in Balmain, Sydney, when he was in Australia in 2011. Oh, you know, Tanya, you might have met me because I was at Glastonbury in 2010 and I saw him there. That's the Glastonbury Symposium, of course. For those wondering, it's the Glastonbury Symposium, not the Rock Festival. So I was there too. And in Sydney in 2011, he did a tour of Australia. I remember that. Yeah, I was at AV9 in Milton Keynes in 2018. It was a wonderful experience. I too grieve and mourn the loss of Ian. But I think I did most of my crying back in March and April when he did that audio interview with Mike from UK Column from his hospital bed. Not knowing if he would survive, I sobbed and sobbed. Well, like the fighter he was, he saw 2 more AV conferences ably presented by Brian and Mike in May and November, and spoke briefly at both. I got up at an ungodly hour to make sure I caught him live at the close of this one in November. I loved the man. I loved his charisma, his fine intellect, his cuddly persona, his down-to-earth jovial style, and the friendly way he spoke to everyone kindly, and as if he'd known them for years. It would take us all time to come to terms with this loss, and we must all be kind to ourselves and do whatever feels right. Be it eat chocolate ice at 1 in the morning, guilty my lad, or feverishly devour all his old videos as if trying to bring him back to life. Thomas Sheridan did a lovely tribute talk on YouTube, just reminiscing and sharing anecdotes from the front seat of his car. Check it out. I think you'll find comfort in it. Best wishes, Tanya from New South Wales, Australia. Oh, Tanya, that's a lovely, lovely comment. I don't know what else to say, but that's a beautiful piece of a memorial there for Ian. I did see Thomas's video. Yeah, it was wonderful. I did. It did mean a lot to me, and all your other thanks for sharing those memories of Ian, which you saw him in the same way I did, and you've been to see a couple of his talks. The one in Glastonbury in 2010, I was there too. We may have met, and yeah, he's sadly gone, but not forgotten, and he will continue to live on in our hearts, and indeed live on in other worlds, and one day we'll meet him all again, Tanya. So thank you very much appreciated. Thanks for joining this channel. Stephen Roach says on Ian dies, nice tribute, Ben. Hopefully he's up there sharing a drink with Bill Cooper. Yeah, I'm sure he is. I'm sure he found Rick Clay. He said he would find Rick Clay, and he said that on that Red Ice interview about the Olympics. So, yeah, Rick Clay, of course, died at a very young age. It was sad. He was suicide. It was awful. Andy said on Ian dies, really sad news. I last saw Ian on his 5G tour. He was a great guy, will never be forgotten by those who knew him. A big loss to the truth movement, yeah. You know, it's just awful. I feel terrible now because I last saw Ian at AV10, which was sometime last year, and I I had an opportunity just not long before Ian fell ill. He was on his 5G tour, like you went on him, Ian. And I was contacted by Mark Devlin. Mark was going up there. This is when Mark lived near Oxford. And he was saying he was going to go up and see Ian in Birmingham. Would I like to join him? And, I could have done. I could have seen him one last time. And I had other things to do, so I said, I'm sorry, Mark, I can't make it. I just think... Because, I went with Mark to see Richard D. Hall in Birmingham. It's like, Mark often invites me because he lives near me. And I'm like... And I just sort of went, oh, no. I wish I'd done it now. I wish I'd gone. I wasn't to know. I didn't know he was going to get ill and die. So I feel bad about that now. I really do. Yeah, it's a great shame. Keith M1 says on Ian Dies, Richie Allen said that Ian faked it to make money. I hope he takes that back now. Total wanker. Did he? Oh, yeah, I know they fell out. I didn't know he said that. Well, if that's true, that's a horrible thing to say. And it's ridiculous because it's another riches to rags story, which the skeptics are convinced is a money-making scam. And I never understand this. I mean, David Icke is the obvious example. From TV presenter on God knows how much he was on. You know how much they earn. To putting out the chairs at the Devices Town Hall and putting them back again afterwards. I mean, it's utter ridiculous. I mean, if Richie did say that, then that's a shame on him for saying that. I don't know if he did. I know he fell out with Ian, but yeah. Reply to Caroline, John Nolan. My name is Bond. Ben Bond. Oh yes. We're without the Aston Martin and the babes, unfortunately. And John also says on the same video, this video has turned into your trial, Ben. It feels like it's, I mean, like I said, there's nothing I like better than to introduce my tribunal system. So it's not really a trial. I mean, it's just simply me putting my point across. I suppose the trial is the community, and that people, have these constant accusations and finger pointing going on in our community. And it's often done without any real due process. In fact, no due process. Whether it's Ben Fellows, whether it's Larry Warren, whether it's Darren Perks, whether it's all these other people. I mean, name me someone who's not been accused of being a shill. Or not been accused of done some other horrible thing. What are you supposed to do? I couldn't... If Caroline's distributing this material, I've got to say something. Oh, and Charles Unleashed said, fortunately the judge owes me a favour, so nothing to worry about there. Oh, thanks, Charles. Trust the psychic super soldier to sort it out. Stuart simply leaves a love heart. Thank you very much, Stuart. On Ian Dies. Okay, we're nearly at the end. We're nearly at the end of the YouTube ones now. Stuart says, why have 3 people unliked this? Well, I have my, Stuart, my trolls have no, they don't take time off for sentimental reasons. They don't really have any, they don't have any qualms about things like this, do they? Caroline, this is on my reply to Caroline Stevens. And Tanya Cummings said, Sabine McNeil is in prison. Brian Garish has talked about her. I think he stays in touch with her as best he can. Edit to add, why in prison? She worked in childcare from memory and exposed some of the abuses in the sector. They had to shut her up, like they have Melanie Shaw. I can't have that getting out while lords and judges and MPs and social workers are alive and working, I suppose. Well, thanks for the update, Tanya. I haven't been following this story the way I should have done. Yeah, it's Melanie. It was what they did to Melanie was awful. But of course, they are trying to cover this up. They're desperate to stop the truth getting out about what's happening to children, because they know that's the biggest secret of all. That's the worst one of all, and it is going to come out. It's going to be horrible. People are going to be mortified. You're going to see people weeping in the streets, but it has to come out. We have to learn about it. We have to integrate it, and then we have to heal from it and build a new world, a world where that sort of thing never happens and children are safe. Tanya Cummings says, Mel V doesn't say nice things. She ripped Ian apart to dismiss her. Yeah, I did a long time ago, Tanya, because of her horrible attitude. I mean, I watched a couple of her videos. She made a very good video about South Africa called The Last of the Boers, about basically the genocide that's going on in South Africa. it was almost as good as Lauren Southern's Farmlands, actually. I think they were both pretty good. But then she starts turning on other people in the community and just saying really horrible things about them. So I don't take her seriously. I haven't even heard from her actually for years. Tessa1111 says 1111 4 ones says Jim Carrey has since divorced Jenny McCarthy but cares for his stepdaughter, not blood related to Jim. All right, not blood related, so it's a stepdaughter. But she's got I don't know how old she is, but I know Robert De Niro also has an autistic son who is, I think, his own child, who's now in his 20s, and again, he's autistic, which may explain why Robert De Niro is also involved. Robert De Niro actually premiered, it was actually at the Tribeca Film Festival, which he runs, which he organises, and this is why the skeptics went nuts, because Robert De Niro actually premiered this movie about anti-vaccination at his own film festival. And there was a huge scandal about it, but I think that's where David and Gareth met Jim Carrey, but I think good for him. Tanya Cummings says, in one interview, Harry says almost as a throwaway line, quote, I mean, no one really knows what happens that night in that tunnel that night, unquote. Did he? I thought he was very revealing, probably unconsciously, or his subconscious speaking. Did he say that, Tanya? Did he really say that? Well, could you find out where for me and let me know? No one really knows what happened in that tunnel that night. For goodness sake, man, I mean, we're supposed to be told that it was a car crash. Henri Paul was drunk, crashed the car. The paparazzi were following. Good grief. That's incredible. Greta Robinson says on Ian, thank you, Ben, for that heartfelt tribute. I first saw Ian on Sky 200 Edge Media TV and followed his work ever since. Oh, yeah. He was. Those were the days, weren't they? Oh, in the 2000s with Edge Media and things like that. Oh, it was great. I had the pleasure to meet him at one of his talks in 2012. For me, he was one of the best. A genuine, no-nonsense truth warrior. He never got dragged down into infighting. He just said what he did. People attacked him, right? People had a go at him. You know, it's like there was that incident at one of the AV conferences where there was a serious crime committed. And this idiot, I can't remember who it was, some idiot with a camera went up to Ian and said, Ian, tell us about this. And Ian said no comment. And this guy said, well, there you are, you see, Ian R. Crane is covering things up at this conference. And I thought, you fool, get real. Ian a crime has been committed. Ian could be liable here. What do you expect him to say? But Ian wouldn't descend to that level. He was always, people attacked him and he would just like shrug it off. Thomas Sheridan made this point. He never got angry. He kept calm and he kept dignified. Greta goes on. You're right. Nothing will be the same without Ian. What a shame he couldn't benefit from Lynn and David's work since he helped them so much. I'm so sorry for all his friends and family at this awful time. His enthusiasm was infectious. I shall miss him no end. Yeah, I mean, I don't know exactly what kind of ways he was treated. I mean, he didn't go into details about that, but he did say he was going down the alternative route. He wasn't going to go in for the cut it off and poison the stump method, which is the only thing conventional oncology allows you to do. And, you know, I said this we did a little tribute on the Mindset podcast the other day, and I made the point that I bet you the skeptics are now going to be harnessing his memory to their cause, and it's going to be bloody awful because they're going to say, oh, it's going to be something like a conspiracy theorist who believed in fake cancer cures dies because he doesn't get conventional treatment, you know. It's going to be some kind of crap like that. Without realising, you know, people die of cancer all the time from they go down the conventional route, they still die. Cancer is a serious disease, and you know, we shouldn't take it lightly, even though I think Ian did the right thing in using Lynn and David's work, if that's what he did. It's a courageous decision to make when you know you're told you have this disease. But you know, it's the thing about these various methods, whether it's cannabis oil, GC math, and all these other things, is that because they're not available on the NHS, they're not available through the general healthcare system. There's been a lot of research done on them, independent research, which shows they have very, very good effects. There's some very powerful anti-cancer drugs, you know, nitriliside, B17, things like that, as well. If you watch David Ray Griffin, G. Edward Griffin's A World Without Cancer. It's amazing, but it's still a serious disease, and sometimes one of the reasons it doesn't work is because it's something that has to be done always independently. Often sometimes it doesn't work because it's applied wrongly or some mistakes are made and things like that, and that's very often because it's not funded properly. It has to be done sometimes quietly on the side, sometimes illegally. I mean, how well would any treatment in the NHS work if it had to be administered under those conditions? So, I mean, if the skeptics try to take Ian and use him and use his tragedy for their agenda, I'll be really furious and I'll be saying a lot about it. Greta continues. I'm so sorry for all his friends and family at this awful time. His enthusiasm was infectious. I shall miss him no end. He is. He really will. Well, I think a lot of us will. This is Evansland 4 of 5. Line Spec says, I'm 45 minutes in. This is on part 4 of 5. And the bit where Rossin is beaten up has already happened in the previous part of this. I think you've duplicated some of the story here. All right. Well, Line Spec, I actually left a text message, a text replying. It could be that... I've made an editing error there. I'll produce, as long as if I duplicate things, it's not so bad as leaving things out. What I'll do is I'll probably produce a correction video if that happens. But I'm actually preparing a text version of Evansland as soon as possible. All right. Ian dies. Humans vs Holders. That's a good name. Says, "Oh dear Ben, what a loss to the world of free speech, freedom, and the truth movement." Yeah, it is, isn't it? I had seen Ian many times all over the UK and spoke to him at length at many events. I went to a few AV events. I remember his van, his van with the bed in the back. It was never special. This man, This man done what he did for love of freedom, the truth, and the human race. It was a true honour and privilege to have sat and listened to a man like Rick Clay, icons of our movement, our teachings, our fight against the darkness in the world. I feel sick, sad, and at a loss for this man, in body like so many, the true spirit of the word truth. He was a beacon to us all, and now he is a part of the light of truth and freedom we all carry. Bless you, Ian. Much love and strength will be our sword, and your heart will be our shield. Rest now, brother, rest. Thank you so much, Ben, for letting us know. Bless you, my mate. Much love. Stay strong, brother. Keep up the great work, Human. Thanks, Human. Much appreciated. That's really good of you. Another lovely comment there. There's been so many from people. Trump impeachment live stream to Tessa 4-1. I don't know why, Tessa, why don't you just call yourself Tessa 4? Tessa 1111. Spider Wars. 2 8-legs fighting each other for gnats. Fighting with each other for gnats. Alright, I don't know what you mean by that, but thanks for watching. Colin Took says on Ian Dies. I think we sometimes worry about paying tribute to people too soon, but I think some of our best and most heartful thoughts come out at this time. It's most raw. Nice job, Ben. Thanks very much, Colin. Yeah, I will be doing more over time. I think I'll leave it a couple of weeks, but I'm going to be doing a proper tribute video to Ian, probably a live stream or something, and we can talk about him. And just to have something proper to remember him. I'm doing something on HPANWO radio as well. Reply to Caroline says, David Smith says, it took me over an hour to realise this wasn't another reply to Steve mumbling video. Oh, there are similarities, aren't there? Hey, David? Yeah. Where are we now? Right. David Smith. Oh, we've got a thread here. David says, on reply to Caroline Stevens, David Smith says, Ben, have you considered her family may have been kidnapped? Just joking. Oh, yeah, like Boris. Anyone of reasonable intelligence can tell from your videos you are a genuine, Ben. Thanks. It does highlight a thing about skepticism, though. Whoever wrote all that is obviously skeptical about those claims, but she believes in hell and God. This is why skepticism is more of a process of application, much like scientists who hold religious beliefs. They still enjoy the scientific method, just they compartmentalise it when it comes to their religion. But at that point, they're no longer being scientific and sceptical. David, I mean, it's very amusing seeing Richard Dawkins doing his... you see, there are many scientists who are religious. They're as scientific as science can be, but they have this religion. And Richard Dawkins is just like... He did this one with Robert Winston. Robert Winston is an Orthodox Jew. And he goes to synagogue and things like that. He believes in God. He did a very interesting series called The Story of God, which I thought was really good. And he did it very professionally as well, which I liked. And you get like Dawkins, he's almost incredulous. He's like, but you must realise you're only doing this because it's part of your tradition. Your family went to synagogue, and so you go to synagogue too. And Winston is like rolling his eyes. It's incredible. Dawkins is literally out of his depth. He can't understand it. Charles Unleashed said, "Can you prove she wasn't kidnapped and replaced with a clone? I thought not. Go and think on your sister's sin. Go and think on your sins, Mr. Smith." Actually, no. The suggestion that Ben is a government agent is absolute rubbish. I know, Charles. The only government agent is you, isn't it? Yes. You wouldn't accept me because I don't have those psychic skills. David Smith says to Charles, "I particularly liked it when Ben went into doing the voice of this lady, and for a second he channeled Steve." I did. I sounded like him for a moment, didn't I? Charles says to Dave Smith, "How do we know that Ben isn't Steve? It was being widely reported a couple of years ago that Steve had died, so maybe there is no Steve mumbling." Yeah. I have a CGI template which I put on his channel, you see, and it looks like him, but it's actually me doing the talking. Okay, we come to the end of the YouTubes, and this is Charles Scott on a reply to Caroline Stevens. Charles says, I would put David Icke, Steve Bassett and several others before you as a government agent because they describe 9/11 as been done by conventional means. You correctly recognise 9/11 was done through unconventional means. Unlike 9/11, solids falling under gravity don't turn completely to dust before hitting the ground. Exactly! As Dr. Judy Wood and Andrew Johnson have explained, yeah. Nor does conventional demolition produce the height, width, quantity and volume of dust characteristics that 9/11 produced. Yes, exactly. Funny enough, I was just watching one of Mick West's podcasts on YouTube. He was interviewing this Norwegian bloke. I was going on about how it couldn't be conventional explosives, and I was sort of sitting there nodding, saying, I know, Mick, it wasn't conventional explosives. It wasn't thermite, I know that. But of course, Mick West, the alternative to thermite and conventional explosives is the official story. See, it's disinformation. The idea is that when you reject this alternative hypothesis of thermite, that people will simply be dragged back to the official story. That's the whole point of it. Charles Unleashed says, "Nonsense, you don't understand engineering or how the towers were constructed. Nothing turned to dust and nothing vanished. Absolutely absurd thing to say. Logan is an airport I have used regularly for years, and I got to know some of the staff really well, including people who died when the planes hit the towers. 2 more friends are only alive today because of a traffic jam prevented them from getting to work on time. Otherwise, they would have been part of the cabin crew." Well, Charles, I don't deny there were real planes, and I don't deny that planes took off who were part of this. They were part of the 9/11 activity. I do dispute that the planes hitting the towers, if indeed planes did hit the towers, was the cause of what happened. I know it's counterintuitive, and indeed I thought that when I first saw it. When I first saw it in September 2011, I watched it on TV, like we all did. But it was only later on you come to realise the truth behind it all. Okay, guys, on to BitChute now. As always, at the moment, BitChute does not give people notifications for. They don't give people notifications for comments, which is a shame. It's a bad thing actually. When they used to use Discus, you did get notifications. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll simply go through the videos I've made since the last comments reply video and look at those. There may be more comments on other videos. I can't go through them all though, because I'd literally have to search every single video I've made to get all the comments, because no notifications. It's a bad system actually. So we'll go to reply to comments 38 on BitChute. Woody Black. I'll try and watch all your reply to comments videos on BitChute now. Try to wean myself off YouTube a little bit. Yeah, this is the thing. I mean, Stefan Molyneux was banned from YouTube, and the first thing he did was he suddenly realised no one was watching him, and he said, "Where are you all?" And little by little, his viewing figures on BitChute have gone up. But people are creatures of habit. People just get used to seeing you on YouTube. It's just easier, so they don't follow you on Alt Tech. I actually learned a long time ago, Woody. I started following some of the people who are not yet banned from YouTube. You know, Morgoth's Review and people like that, who I do reply videos to. I always watch them on Alt Tech now. I always watch them either on Odyssey or on BitChute. I don't even watch their YouTube videos anymore. So yeah, Molyneux. I think people have now got the message, and people are moving over to BitChute. The problem is Molyneux says he's got fewer supporters than last time. Well, you see, the way to look at it, if I was Stefan Molyneux, is fewer people are now watching you on Alt Tech. But I tell you what, the ones that are watching you are the people who really respect you. The others were just sort of like tuning in for the sake of it, and now you're not there anymore. They just don't bother. Evansland 1 of 5. John Doe says, "Good stuff, Ben." Thank you very much, John. Much appreciated. I don't know why I bother putting like reply to comments notices, but of course, because no one gets noticed on BitChute, so John Doe 70 at 70, John Doe at 70, won't actually receive a notification for this reply to comments video notice. But I'm gonna put it on there anyway. Evansland 2 of 5. John Doe says, "Great stuff, Ben. HPANWO Radio Thursdays at 8. All right, John. Thank you very much. Thanks for tuning in, mate. Much appreciated. I do. Yeah, you guys watching HPANWO TV, please do remember I do a radio show Thursdays 8 p.m. HPANWO Radio. You get it on Spreaker. Evansland audio book, part 3 of 5. No comments, but I have had one like. That was good. 48 views. That's not bad. Okay, Evansland 4 of 5. Had a like, but no comments. Evansland 5 of 5. I was determined to get them all done in one go. I don't want gaps here. 2 likes, no comments. And Trump's impeachment live stream 2. Oh, loads of comments here. Woden says, "Giving this so-called unlicensed vaccine immunity is the crime of the century. Every stems from this one decision." Yeah, the vaccine. Bloody hell. Yeah, it's ridiculous, isn't it? God knows what's going to happen, isn't it? Time Bong says, "In a face diaper," a diaper meaning a nappy. All right. Well, why don't you watch the rest of it, Time Bong? I only put it on there for fun. Watch the rest of it, you idiot. I take it off after the first few minutes. Twat. The Wandering Patriot says, "Q is a bigger joke than that mask you have on." No, it isn't, Wandering Patriot. No, it isn't. No, Q is not. Q is... What's the time? Let me just hang on a sec. Just going to make a little note here. Q is real, and I explain why. I explain very, very clearly why in this video and many others. John Doe says, "Oh, good stuff, Ben." John Doe at 70. Thank you, John. Much appreciated. Time Boy says retard. I won't have to mispronounce that word slightly. Woden 20 says keyboard warrior. Yeah, Time Bong is, isn't he? I think we're talking to Time Bong. John Doe says, "How old are you? Grow up. How old are you? 15? Time Bong sounds about 5 to me, if you ask me. I think his age is probably smaller than his shoe size. Mexit is done. Batia 17. Oh, that's right. Batia 777 says, "Is it possible that you could confirm whether HRH Emlyn is now gone from the gates of Buckingham Palace?" Though the royal seal, I think it has been replaced, Batcher, but it did come down. It was apparently hit by a truck or something going in through the gates. But that happened at a very convenient time, didn't it? Do you remember? It is back, I think, apparently, but I'll double check. But that's very important, because if it's not back, then the story about how it's disappeared is a bit of a nonsense, isn't it? Abrahams You Are says, someone go and see if Buckingham has been vacated. The Queen, Charles and Harry have been taken. Well, the Queen is, it's no secret, the Queen is currently at Sandringham. She's spending the lockdown with Prince Philip at Sandringham, apparently. There's a photo been taken showing her wearing... A photo was taken last May when we had really hot weather, showing her wearing winter clothes, which was a bit of a giveaway, wasn't it? Forbidden Truth said, now that Prince William and Kate have 3 kids, Prince Harry is no longer needed. He's currently 6th on the list. Yes, and of course he is the Bend Sinister, isn't he? He's actually not legitimate royal. He's the son of Hewitt and Diana, which means, well, I think he's safe. I think if they were going to take him out, they'd have done it by now. They'd have done it when he was in Afghanistan, and they'd have blamed it on the Taliban. I think he's safe. Okay, reply to Caroline on BitChute. No comments. And finally, Ian dies on BitChute. There's loads of comments here. The World Orders Review. Hi Ben, thanks for this sad notice. Humanity stands against insanity. Yes, it does. Do you know what World Orders Review? And that was his wonderful program he did. Wayland says, Dr. Judy Wood is not well regarded by a great number of people. I suspect it's because her work almost casually tramples on the work of many well-regarded 9/11 truthers. Is the truth movement supposed to be a friendly club, or almost a family where we support each other and bury our differences for the sake of unity? Or is the truth the ultimate goal? If it's truth, then inevitably there will be violent splits as each sticks to what they think the truth is. As unpleasant as this is, it's got to be that way because we must put the truth before the niceties. Wayland, of course we must do. Of course we have to put the truth first. If someone is on the wrong track, we have to correct them. And if Andrew Johnson had said what he did say to Ian R. Crane at any other time other than that particular context, I wouldn't have had a problem with it. However, there is a necessary for compassion. There's a necessary for humanity. We have to be. As a necessary for simply respect for people's situation. We all lose loved ones. We all love people. We all love people. Sometimes those people die. There's never ever any excuse for treating people in that condition as anything other than in a bit of basic human respect. When I did my little live stream to James Randi, I bared that in mind when I did that. Wayland says here, people who accuse our side of doing it for the money are lefties. Lefties think that earning money is a terrible thing. Money should be given freely to people who need it rather than people who earn it. Therefore, it's the greatest insult a lefty can give is that you were paid money you earned. The thing that lefties cannot get their head around is that somebody who could get paid a lot of money would do something simply because it's the right thing to do. Well, yeah, there are people who are well off and rich who are kind of on our side. I mean, Bob Bigelow is a wealthy billionaire. He's one of us in terms of his beliefs, in terms of his commitment. Yeah. I mean, the lefties think that rich people are inherently evil because they believe in Marxist economics and the idea that capitalism is basically conflict economics. It's exploitative. You see, this is why, isn't it? Yeah. Wayland says, R.I.P. Ian R. Crane. We suspected he had cancer quite a while before he announced it. Is that? I mean, I didn't. Wayland, I just didn't. It was a real shock. Well, I found out a couple of days before he made the announcement, just through a mutual friend. I didn't say anything because they asked me to keep it private, and then he put that announcement on. Exi Kaikaseros said, "Oh, this is sad. He did such a lot for the truth movement. He didn't, Exi Kaikaseros. Yes, that sounds like a Greek name." Atlas 369, Ian R.I.P. Ian, a true warrior for the truth. Yes, he was indeed. Thank you very much, Atlas. Sorry, Alias 369. Colin Mark Andrews said, Colin Mark Hargreaves. I'm getting a bit tired now. Sorry. Sad news. I'll miss him doing his morning show in a field with cows. Thank you. Oh, he used to stand in the field, didn't he, with his hat on. He had like a big furry deer stalker in the winter and a sun hat in the summer. And he's just amazing. He was wonderful. I love those videos. Yeah, used to put them on Facebook and everything. Ed67 said, possibly things work out the way they're supposed to. Yeah, I mean, we all got to go sometime, haven't we? And Percy73 says, so sad that he was a true fighter. He was, wasn't he, Percy? Yes, he really was. Okay, that's the end of the BitChute comments. I'll go now to Odyssey. I'm itching, my nose is itching again. Okay, let's go to notifications. Bloody, bloody, bloody. Oh, I get so many notifications, I've got a lot of scrolling down. Okay, Elusive said on ENR Crane dies. I do get notifications for Odyssey, that's another good thing about Odyssey. Very sad. I always enjoyed how he presented information. He was always very personable and easy to listen to. He was, wasn't he, Elusive? Yes. Oh, Elusive, I think it's not a secret, is it? You're Pookie Nana. Yeah, you are, aren't you? Yes, you are. Oh, this is Wrong Rabbit. That's a good name. Wrong Rabbit. 4 days ago, commented on. Oh, hang on. Can I? Is it possible to? Where we go? Oh, people, this is just a channel comment. Oh, you can have channel comments too. Wrong Rabbit said, Colorado Bigfoot community member, and yes, they in the UK, I've seen their structures. Oh right, so you, oh right, okay. You could have put that on the actual video when I talk about the British Bigfoot. Yeah. But anyway, not to worry, not to worry. Scroll down again. I think I've got to scroll down every time now. Right, so that's I just have to go to comments, and I think I just have to click on the actual new content. I'm getting my content notifications in the same stream as my comment notifications, which means I've got to scroll through a lot of content notifications because I subbed to so many people. Oh, it looks like it goes back 16 days. All right, can't I go any further? No, I can't. Okay, all right. That's all the Odyssey comments done then. If there are any more, then I haven't seen them. Well, to be honest, I do check Odyssey regularly, so I've probably given you a text comment at some point, because I tend to leave text comments on Odyssey because I don't have so many. Okay, I'll just refresh the channel comments page. We're nearly at the end now. Let's have a look. Okay, I'll just go to... Oh no, I know what to do. It's still the same. Held for review. Let's just double check. Any held for review? No, okay, so I'll now go to people put them. That's right. Okay. Andrew Munchkin says on. This is just replying to what I put here. Thanks, Ben. That is just because I said I'm going to. Yeah, just announced that I did actually interview David Weiss. Yes, I did. So I'll go back to. Let's have a look. Any more? The Crafty Nihilist says, and I suppose you put it there, Charles. Surveillance. All right, Charles and the Crafty Nihilist are still having a laugh. All right, yeah, and Charles Unleashed says, Crafty Nihilist. Honestly, it's the same tune here, and it's that Android thing singing that song. And Crafty Nihilist says to Charles, "Ha! What did I just watch? Is that one of your underground bases, Charles? Is she the next beta unit for Ben?" All right, and that's it. That is the end of this comments reply video. So thank you, each and every one of you, for your wonderful comments, friends and enemies alike. It wouldn't be the same if you didn't provide comments. Even some of the rude ones have been very amusing, and I've had fun replying to them. And of course, skeptics are always welcome to come and try and prove me wrong, and you do. That's absolutely fine. Steve Mumbling, among many others. So feel free to keep doing that. There will be another comments reply video in due course. I think it may be narrowing the gap a little bit, maybe to 3 weeks rather than a month. I don't know what you say, because this video is now over 4 hours long, and they're long. I think that's long enough, isn't it? So let's have them every 3 weeks or so. There'll be another video coming soon. I've got many planned, including the one I was going to make on when was it when I did the Caroline one? So yeah, I didn't get to do that, did I? But anyway, thank you all for watching HPANWO TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.